5%. Chapter 21. I'm sure to kill this black eclipse dragon. Jesus couldn't hold back. Then, is there a blueprint for an E-level offensive robot? Shen Yi changed his search direction. After all, the trading house only has blueprints for E and F grades today. Even if he has the heart to buy a better one. But the market conditions are here, and he doesn't have any chance to choose. However, E-class blueprints are already very rare. What's more, what Shen Yi wanted was an E-class offensive robot blueprint. Billions of people in the entire trading house only searched for 4 blueprints. Blueprint of Spider Robot. Grade rating. E grade. Ability. An extremely fast killer robot, only 30 centimeters in size is its advantage, and it is a ghost on the battlefield. Requirement. 300 energy points. Boxing robot blueprint. Grade rating. E grade. Ability. A good melee unit, although it has lost its long-range ability, its punching power is extremely powerful, and the punch weight can reach 3,000 kilograms. Requirement. 200 energy points. Heavy artillery robot blueprint. Grade rating. E grade. Ability. Possess a 40 mm caliber heavy artillery with a range of 3,000 meters, a slightly slower attack speed but good lethality, and an explosion range of up to 10 meters. Requirement. 500 energy points. Armed drone blueprint. Grade rating. E grade. Ability. Aerial offensive unit, equipped with two 12.7 mm 4-barrel revolving machine guns, with a certain locking ability, can lock the target for attack. Requirement. 300 energy points. These 4 drawings, in addition to the final armed drone blueprint, attracted some Shen Yi's interest. The other Shen Yi didn't care much. Not to mention the spider robot, with his current firepower, there is no need for a sneak attack at all. And the creature that needs his sneak attack. It is not something that a small C-class robot can solve. As for the boxing robot, it's even more hilarious. What role can a melee unit play in a war? At best, it can only be aimed at one target. However, a type of combat robot can attack and suppress multiple targets with the help of barrage. This alone has directly dumped this boxing robot countless streets. It would be nice if this boxing robot was high level. After being strengthened, reaching AB rank will definitely become his main force in the future. But such an E rank is really too weak. Even if it has been strengthened, it is still a C rank at best. The value is far less than a type of combat robot. The heavy artillery robot Shen Yi thought about it. After all, this is a long-range robot. After the enhancement, the range and explosive power will definitely be higher than that of a type of combat robot, which is indeed quite fragrant. However, after thinking that there seems to be no opponent that makes him feel difficult now, Shen Yi gave up on buying it. In the same sentence, a type of combat robot can directly blow up those monsters with one bullet. Why does he take off his pants and fart, a range type? Isn't this a pure waste of resources? For his power, it does not play a role in improving at all. But in the end, this armed drone was different. The existence of this armed drone will greatly make up for his lack of air power. Even some creatures with a relatively high life level will definitely be on his kill list. Not always get away with it. Buy armed drone blueprints. Shen Yi directly chose to buy it. The mere 300 points of energy is not worth mentioning to him now. Although he can also be replaced with a combat robot. Directly save 10 times the resources. But he didn't want to make a combat droid so cheap either. A mere E-level blueprint is not worthy of changing to a C-level combat robot. After Shen Yi chose to buy, the other party immediately passed Shen Yi's purchase request. Seemingly afraid that he would order too slowly, Shen Yi simply stopped buying it. No way, there are really too few people who have excess energy to buy blueprints. What's more, it still takes a full 300 energy points to buy blueprints. That would even allow them to produce 12 Type 1 battle droids. Moreover, it is impossible for ordinary players to consider the issue of new arms at this stage. After all, the existing arms are enough for them to produce, and they only produce a new arm that is not particularly strong if they have a brain. After the successful purchase, the blueprint of the armed drone also appeared directly in the warehouse. He was sent to his hands by Shen Yi with an idea. Looking at the blueprint with the word E written in his hand, Shen Yi's eyes showed a hint of interest. I don't know what the level of the enhanced armed drone will be. Use the armed drone blueprint. After Shen Yi's voice fell, the blueprint in his hand was immediately enveloped by a blue light. Different from the Divine Shield automatic defense system. The blueprint of the armed drone, after being used, disappears directly in the blue light. At the same time, the production options of the machinery factory also include the production conditions for armed drones. Armed drone. Production requirements. 25 points of energy. Capacity. Equipped with two 12.7mm 4-barrel revolving machine guns, with a maximum range of 1,000 meters and a maximum speed of 70 kilometers per hour. It also has a fire control radar and has a certain locking ability. Consumption. 3 energy points are consumed every day. Grade rating. E grade. From the introduction of capabilities, its firepower is worse than that of the Type 1 combat robot. At the same time, the speed should be lower than that of a Type 1 reconnaissance robot. However, its advantage lies in its fire control radar. That's why Shen Yi bought it. Aerial targets themselves are not easy to hit. Because three-dimensional maneuvering can be done in the air, which is very different from the target on the ground. A combat droid might be aggressive against ground targets. However, in the face of those more flexible air units, they are a little helpless. After all, in its basic configuration, there is no such thing as a fire control radar, and it can only rely on the binocular camera to lock the target. However, armed drones with fire control radars can attack by targeting the enemy. The locked enemy has basically no way to avoid the attack. Of course, the current armed drones are not so perverted, and they have to be strengthened to achieve this step. Fire control radar for now E-class armed drones. At best, it allows them to quickly lock onto the enemy's position. It seems that God wants you to die. It's not my fault. Shen Yi glanced at the black eclipse dragon on the map, and the corners of his lips rose slightly, evoking a sneer. Originally, he was not prepared to move the black eclipse dragon so early, so he sent a large number of Type 1 robots to scare the other party away, so that he could explore the area where this guy used as a lair, which was suspected to be a relic of civilization. After all, the opponent's excellent flying ability made him feel very difficult. However, now that there is the support of this armed drone, the situation is completely different. He was sure to kill this black eclipse dragon, but Jesus couldn't keep it. 6%. Chapter 22. Hunting the Black Dragon. Armed drones were quickly created. For armed drones, Shen Yi didn't produce much, only 1,000 units. Armed drones are different from a type of combat robot. It is only used to target special flying creatures. So, the quantity doesn't need to be too much. Ordinary flying creatures can't escape the barrage of a combat robot. Unless it is a flying creature with a life level of B-class like the Black Eclipse Dragon. However, the Black Eclipse Dragon is already the strongest existence within these 300 kilometers. Other creatures that reach the sea level life level are only rare within the range of these 300 miles. And there are even fewer powerful flying creatures. So, there is no need for that many armed drones at all. At this moment, the upgraded armed drone data also appeared in front of Shen Yi's eyes. Armed drone. Grading. Grade C. Capacity. Equipped with two 12.7mm caliber 4-barrel rotary machine guns, with a maximum range of 8,000 meters and a maximum speed of Mach 1.5 per hour, 1,836 kilometers per hour, and the fire control radar can lock any target within 10,000 meters. Consumption. 30 energy points are consumed every day. This enhanced data is not bad. The data from the armed drone in front of him made Shen Yi's eyes light up. The existence of these 1,000 armed drones directly compensated for his air combat power. Moreover, the combat effectiveness of today's armed drones in the air may not be much weaker than that of a type of combat robot. After all, it also has a fire control radar that a combat robot doesn't have. The target can be locked directly from 10,000 meters away. This undoubtedly means that armed drones can still guarantee a very high hit rate even at the longest range of 8,000 meters. Plus the terrifying speed of 1.5 times the speed of sound. He couldn't think of any flying creature that could escape the pursuit of armed drones. Even a C-class flying creature can never fly so fast. He glanced at the 1001 type battle robots that were less than 10 kilometers away from the Black Eclipse Dragon site on the map. Shen Yi directly ordered them to stop and stand by. Then, he turned his attention to the sky above the base at the moment. That one is 2 meters in size and looks similar to DJI, but there are 2 armed drones with 4-barrel machine guns hanging below it, and there is a hint of expectation in his eyes. This is your first battle, don't let me down. Go. With Shen Yi's order, 1,000 armed drones were immediately above the base, shaking off white sonic boom clouds and disappearing over the base. Bang, bang, bang. 1,000 armed drones entered the scene of supersonic flight from the air at the same time. This terrifying acceleration is absolutely breathtaking. Enough to shock everyone who sees it. It's a pity that only Shen Yi can see this scene now. Today's armed drones seem to have become the fastest existence under his hands. Even a type of reconnaissance robot is only close to the speed of sound. However, it is far from reaching supersonic speed. Speaking of which, Shen Yi didn't want to understand how this drone, which relies on 4 rotors, can fly at supersonic speed. Shouldn't only jet planes be able to go supersonic? It can only be said that the 100-fold strengthening system will always drop God. Next, we will launch a general attack. I don't know what kind of surprise this place will bring me. Shen Yi cast his eyes on the radar sand table in front of him. At this moment, the Black Eclipse Dragon, which is in the center of the radar sand table, seems to sense the approaching threat. He was standing on the top of the building restlessly and roaring up to the sky. The sturdy tail behind him kept slamming the ground, and the ground rumbled. I don't know what material the building below is made of. The Black Eclipse Dragon's heavy body of more than 10 meters is at least dozens of tons. The tail is waving, and the lethality is at least hundreds of tons. However, despite such a heavy blow, the buildings below were still unscathed. The reinforced concrete structure on the earth was directly smashed into slag. If that's not the norm for building materials on this planet, then this place is likely to be a more important place. The interest in Shen Yi's eyes became more intense. If that's the case, he might be able to get something good out of here. In less than 5 minutes, 1,000 armed drones directly crossed a distance of more than 100 kilometers and appeared near the Black Eclipse Dragon. That's just astonishingly fast. That's the scary part of modern warfare, it's coming so fast. Take action. Shen Yi did not hesitate, and decisively led 1,000 Type 1 combat robots and 1,000 armed robots approach together in an encircling formation. This kind of siege operation that integrates land and air is not an exaggeration to be compatible with the net of heaven and earth. Let the enemy have no way to go to the sky, no way to enter the ground, and no chance to escape. Buzz. Boom. 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 A combat robot on the ground and an armed drone in the sky stepped into the Black Eclipse Dragon's territory covered with black and purple phosphorus powder at the same time. At this moment, the Black Eclipse Dragon is restless in his lair. The moment a combat robot and an armed drone stepped into their territory, they suddenly raised their heads. Apparently, this is what it senses through the phosphor powder. The face without eyes, but full of thorns, was instantly filled with violence. The ferocious mouth full of fangs and saliva flowed open suddenly, and roared in the sky. Ah! The terrifying dragon's roar shook the sky and the ground, and the surrounding air seemed to vibrate, causing ripples. The next moment, its forearm with a layer of black flesh film slammed. Whoosh! The terrifying force instantly pushed its body into the sky. It actually flew 300 or 400 meters directly. Huh, this speed is not bad. Shen Yi sighed, but only got a good word from him. The instantaneous acceleration of this Black Eclipse Dragon is close to the speed of sound. I am afraid that the maximum speed is definitely beyond the speed of sound. But how can this be? In front of his army and air force, all resistance is futile. No matter how fast this Black Eclipse Dragon flies, but now that the encirclement has been formed, it will definitely not be able to escape this net. What's more, among these 1,001 type combat robots and 1,000 armed drones, which one is worse than the Black Eclipse Dragon? Shen Yi used 2,000 robots of the same level to kill the Black Eclipse Dragon, which has already given enough face. The Black Eclipse Dragon flew in midair. Uneasy and menacing growls continued towards the approaching robots. However, Shen Yi could clearly see the horror on its face. Obviously, the Black Eclipse Dragon felt the threat from the surrounding. But when Shen Yi came to this world, its fate was already doomed. When 1,001 type combat robots and 1,000 armed robots enter the range, the dense and scalding bullets immediately fired a saturated shot in the direction of the Black Eclipse Dragon. 6%. Chapter 23. I owe you a look. Ah! The Black Eclipse Dragon let out a long roar, and an ugly face was full of anger. Although it is afraid of a large number of enemies around it. But that doesn't mean it's scared. What's more, when it is still actively attacking it. A mere group of ants, how dare you? The black-purple spar on the back of the Black Eclipse Dragon suddenly flickered with light. The next moment, its big mouth spit, a thick and long, scorching fire column composed of black and purple phosphorus powder. He spit out the incoming bullet. Boom, 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 boom. The bullet swept by the column of fire exploded directly in the air. After all, the Black Eclipse Dragon is an existence whose life level has reached the B level. If this attack were to land on the ground, it would instantly turn into a piece of scorched earth in a radius of 1,000 meters. Moreover, even if a creature was breathed out by the dragon breath of the Black Eclipse Dragon, it was still lucky not to die. It will also fall into a state of madness because of being infected by the components in the phosphorus powder. Begin to fight madly without fear of death to kill all the creatures around. It can be said that the army of ordinary flesh and blood life forms. It will definitely be very tricky to face an opponent like the Black Eclipse Dragon. After all, the infectivity of this phosphorus powder is too strong, and it can easily lead to a madness and start to kill his teammates. But unfortunately, those who came to encircle the Black Eclipse Dragon at this moment were not flesh and blood beings at all, but a group of cold robots. Moreover, it is still a C-level war weapon. Although the dragon breath of the Black Eclipse Dragon has blocked a lot of bullets for it. But that didn't work at all. The barrage composed of 1,000 Type 1 combat robots and 1,000 armed drones is really terrifying. The number of bullets poured out every second is hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. Even if the dragon breath of the Black Eclipse Dragon blocks thousands or even tens of thousands, there will still be dense bullets that fall on it through the gap between the dragon's breath. Boom! In the sky, a large explosion of fire suddenly appeared. The enhanced combat robot and armed drone, each bullet is no less powerful than a cannonball. At this moment, it was hit by so many shells at the same time. Even if the Black Eclipse Dragon's life level is as high as B level, it is completely unstoppable. Hold head high. The shrill screams of the Black Eclipse Dragon also sounded in the flames in the air. However, it is far less loud and imposing than before. There was even a faint hint of weakness and fear. The next moment, accompanied by a thunderous sound. The fire in midair was like a punctured balloon. A black shadow directly carried a funnel-shaped mist, bursting out from the explosion of fire. Like a black lightning, it quickly swept away into the distance. This is exactly what Black Eclipse is trying to break through the speed of sound and escape the attack of a battle droid and armed drone. It's a pity that it seems that the acceleration is not enough because of the serious injury. There is no way to break the sound barrier directly. At this moment, it is only close to the speed of sound. However, this is only its last struggle. Through the radar sand table, Shenyi could clearly see the tragic state of the Black Eclipse Dragon. In the previous artillery fire, only half of the body of the Black Eclipse Dragon was left, and the tail and one hind leg disappeared directly. Even the flesh membrane on the wings had many holes. Tisk tisk, as expected of a B-level creature, this flesh and blood is really scary. Unfortunately, even if you break the speed of sound, you still have to die. Shenyi looked at the picture on the radar sand table, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Armed drones are what he uses specifically for the current situation. The fire control radar can allow the armed drone to lock the moving direction of the Black Eclipse Dragon very well and make predictions in advance. If there is only one armed drone, it may not be so easy to hit the opponent. However, the number of armed drones he sent out was really too many, 1,000 units. It can directly block the Black Eclipse Dragon in all directions. In this case, what does the Black Eclipse Dragon use to run? Sure enough, the dense barrage followed the Black Eclipse Dragon steadily. No matter which direction it moved, a large number of bullets followed. It exploded violently. Even if it tries to dodge, tens of thousands of bullets will hit it at the same moment. It doesn't have any room to dodge at all, and it can only get weaker and weaker under the dense bullets. In the end, with a broken body, he fell heavily and completely lost his life. From the mechanical army to the end of the battle. In fact, less than 5 seconds had passed in total. A Black Eclipse Dragon that was enough to pose a deadly threat to the players died at the hands of Shenyi. And, after it died, Shenyi didn't even want to give it one more look. Instead, it turned its attention to the building below, which was covered in darker purple phosphorus. Shenyi didn't feel the slightest bit of excitement about killing a B-rank creature by himself. No way, although the Black Eclipse Dragon is very strong against other players. But, in his eyes, it was just that. The gap between Class B and Class C is not insurmountable either. If not to ensure that the buildings below will not be destroyed by this war, he wouldn't even send so many Type 1 combat robots and armed drones. Disperse the guards, and don't let anything alive. Shenyi gave orders to a combat robot and an armed drone. This is about whether he can understand the information of the planet under his feet, and he doesn't want any accidents. All Type 1 combat robots and armed drones were slightly shocked. They quickly gathered around the building, and the two revolving machine guns turned to the outside. Once any breath of life approaches, they will definitely fire at the first time, tearing each other apart. After doing this, Shenyi controlled 30 Type 1 battle robots and drove towards the building covered in thick black and purple phosphorus powder. This place has been used as a lair for a long time by the Black Eclipse Dragon. The phosphorus powder on the ground was nearly half a meter thick. If ordinary creatures approach, I am afraid that they will fall into madness before long. However, the Type 1 combat robot is a body of steel, and naturally it will not be affected by these dusts. Moreover, the same reinforced material. It also makes them ignore the corrosive effect of these phosphorus powders. Soon, 30 Type 1 combat robots were in the thick phosphorus powder. Find the location of the gate of the building. Shenyi, who saw this scene through the perspective of a fighting robot, had a flash of excitement in his eyes. Hope you don't let me down. He controlled a combat robot and drove towards the building gate. The half-open door of this building is a pure metal door made of some kind of metal, more than 10 centimeters thick. If the hardness of this thing is comparable to that of steel, I am afraid that even ordinary rockets cannot shake it. However, at this moment, on the solid gate made of pure metal, there was a large hole nearly 2 meters in length. The burr on the edge of the large hole faces outward, and there are scratch marks on the edge. It seems that some kind of creature tore the door from the inside, and then rushed out of the door. 6%. Chapter 24. Is this a biological laboratory? Is this being broken in by a monster? Shenyi was a little surprised, judging from the firmness of the building. Monsters don't seem to get in so easily. Moreover, even if you want to go in, the gate should be broken from the outside, not from the inside. Could it be that the monster in here ran out? Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Shenyi controlled a combat robot and continued to move forward. As this gate has been torn from the inside. Therefore, Shenyi easily opened the door. 30 Type 1 combat robots also drove into it one by one. Entering the gate, the entrance is a huge hall, which is more than 100 square meters. It can be seen that when this hall was once intact, it must have been unusually grand. It is completely in line with the architectural hall pattern of those future worlds in the Earth's fantasy, and the decoration looks very simple and fresh. However, at this moment, because of the Black Eclipse Dragon, a layer of black-purple phosphorus powder has already fallen everywhere. It looks extremely gloomy and depressing, as if entering a horror game. In this hall, there are also a lot of claw marks and broken marks. Shenyi seems to have imagined that a bloody massacre took place here. He even saw some broken bones in the phosphorus powder on the ground. He controlled a combat robot to approach the past, and used the mechanical arm that came with the combat robot to pick up the bones on the ground. Judging from the appearance of the skeleton, it is a civilized creature on this planet. At least in size it should be very close to a human. However, there is really not much to see from a single skull. This is like a blue whale. Who would have thought that the skull of a blue whale is actually composed of 3 large bones? The 2 bones in the lower jaw are actually separated from left to right. If you guess the shape by looking at the bones, you might think that the blue whale is a monster whose jaws can open like a predator. Spread out and clear the threat here. Shenyi gave orders to the other 29 Type 1 combat robots. After seeing the gate, he no longer felt that it was an ordinary civil building. If it is a civil facility, do you still need a solid metal door? Even a place with simple folk customs like Gotham City doesn't need such an exaggerated door. Of course, if the folk customs in this place are so sturdy, then it's considered that he didn't say that. But no matter what, it is also necessary to clear a wave of threats here. When he was searching the room, something suddenly jumped out to startle him. What he hated most was the feeling of being caught off guard. After 29 Type 1 fighting robots left, he also controlled this Type 1 fighting robot under him. I looked around the hall, trying to find some useful information from here. According to the habit on Earth, the hall will generally put some information or signposts about the place. Not sure if there is Shenyi here. Just take a chance. At this time, Shenyi once again longed for artificial intelligence. When will the artificial intelligence drawings be released? If there are artificial intelligence drawings, why would I be so troublesome? He couldn't help leaning back in his chair and whimpered. The Type 1 combat robot is indeed a good player in combat. But in terms of intelligence, it's really bad. It can only simply carry out the annihilation task he issued. Such meticulous work as finding things is obviously not up to the task. However, fortunately, his physique has improved 5 times now, otherwise he would want to find something in this environment full of black and purple phosphorus powder. Even if you are blind, you won't even want to find it. 10 minutes later, Shenyi finally found a sign buried in a pile of phosphorus powder on the ground beside the wall. The sign was originally supposed to be hung on the wall. However, it fell to the ground for some reason. If it weren't for Shenyi's discovery of some clues on the wall. I'm afraid I don't even know that there is such a thing in this half-finger-thick pile of phosphorus powder. Damn Black Eclipse Dragon. Shenyi gritted his teeth hard. That is to say, the Black Eclipse Dragon has been solved by him, otherwise there must be its good juice to eat. The text on this sign is completely different from the text on the earth. From his point of view, it was no different from a ghost painting talisman. Can't understand the meaning of the above at all. Of course, Shenyi is not helpless. The reason why he has the confidence to get information from here. I didn't come here with the idea of hitting luck and waiting for a Chinese-made world. Translate the text on this. Shenyi used his voice directly to give orders to the base. After his voice fell, next to the sign, the translated content suddenly appeared. Sure enough, there was a hint of joy in Shenyi's eyes. This is also a guess in his heart when he looked at the content of the chat bar before. Because the invited players are humans from all over the earth. Of course not all can speak Chinese. However, all the chat columns are displayed in Chinese. This shows that the computer at the base has a translation function. Of course, Shenyi wasn't sure if he could translate the alien language, he just tried it. Obviously, his guess was correct. The origin of the base is not simple, even this alien language can still be translated. This means that he can easily get information from this place. Shenyi turned his attention to the translated text. Dreiss Institute of Biology. Established in Wanli in 1761, one of the 127 small biological laboratories of the Federation, it has won the MITS-level Biological Gold Award, the Wright Biological Gold Award and other awards. Main Attack Section. Genetic Modification, Genetic Enhancement. Main Person in Charge. Professor Ryan Bliss, Professor Dalet. It turned out to be a biological laboratory. Shenyi's narrow and long sword eyebrows rose slightly, with a hint of surprise in his tone. If so, it would explain the large hole in the gate. It is estimated that a monster from internal research escaped. Moreover, since it can be ranked first in the opponent's entire federation, it has won a lot of awards. It means that it should be very important here, and it should allow him to collect a lot of information. Since I found something in the phosphorus powder on the ground. Naturally, Shenyi would not let other places go. Directly controlling a type of combat robot, he started a carpet search in the phosphor powder all over the ground. Soon, a piece of the brand was rummaged out by him from the phosphor powder and placed in the center of the hall. After confirming again that there was nothing else of value in the hall, Shenyi spoke again and ordered. All these words have been translated. 6%. Chapter 25. The Black Eclipse Dragon is actually a manufactured biological weapon. At this moment, Shenyi found 7 signs in the hall with the words written on them. Among them, there are 4 pieces with portraits, and the suspected characters are introduced. There are 2 other things that seem to be prohibited. After all, the bold red characters were exceptionally conspicuous. However, Shenyi didn't mind, and now he doesn't know anything about this world. Being able to absorb even a little bit of information was very helpful to him. Soon, the translated text appeared next to the sign. Moreover, this time there is a dotted line to guide the way, so that Shenyi can easily identify which brand the translated text belongs to. At least in terms of intelligence, it is more than a notch higher than the base computer that required an operating console before. Of course, this has nothing to do with artificial intelligence. It's just a lot more comfortable to operate. Professor Ryan Breeze, one of the top 100 biology professors in the Federation, his main achievements are the theory of biological gene enhancement, and he has made great achievements in biological genes. Human-made terrifying biological warfare beast, Black Eclipse Dragon. Professor Dillard, one of the top 100 biological blood professors in the Federation, his main achievements are biological genetic modification and fusion theory, and he has made great achievements in genetic modification and fusion. Biochemical war beast, Black Eclipse Dragon. Professor Wen Ang. Professor Milia. Hey, it turns out that they made this Black Eclipse Dragon. Shenyi looked at the translation beside the sign and couldn't help but take a deep breath. However, judging from the introduction of the Black Eclipse Dragon, the opponent does meet the point of biological and biochemical warfare. That black-purple phosphorus powder that can cause creatures to go crazy is really terrifying. Once there is such a wave in densely populated areas, you don't even need more attack methods, you can directly turn a large area into a Senluo hell in an instant. All the creatures will be madly fighting together. This effect is no worse than the biological and chemical weapons on Earth. Moreover, most of the biological and chemical weapons on Earth are disposable, similar to gas bombs and the like. But this Black Eclipse Dragon only infects the enemy through phosphorus powder. In terms of cost, the two are simply incomparable. Could it be that the hole in the gate and the scratches in the hall are caused by this Black Eclipse Dragon? Shen Yi pondered. If this is the case, then this biological research institute is really weak enough. He was actually destroyed by the creature he studied. However, there is only one small biological research institute in the Federation, and there are more than 100. They can create monsters like the Black Eclipse Dragon. Is the biotechnology in this world a little too outrageous? Those medium-sized research institutes and large-scale research institutes can produce the so-called biological war beasts of A level and even S level. If this is the case, then this world is more dangerous than imagined. Thinking of this possibility, Shen Yi frowned. He is not bad at dealing with B-level creatures now, relying on the advantage of numbers, he can directly crush it. But to deal with A-level or even S-level creatures, it is not enough. This is like using AK to fight the top 99A main battle tank in China. You can't even penetrate other people's armor, so what's the use of more people? Shen Yi didn't think that being an S-rank biological beast that could reach A rank would be a good existence. I hope this is just my overthinking. Shen Yi was a little worried. If it is as he guessed, then his current technology, in front of this planet, is really nothing. Of course, Shen Yi still had some guesses in his heart. That is, the civilization of this world has been destroyed, and the evidence is these dense monsters. To be honest, the monsters on this Gobi Desert are not that strong. Even the B-rank Black Eclipse Dragon is only more powerful. His swarms of C-rank Type 1 battle droids can sweep through them with ease. Not to mention the Federation that may have a large number of B-rank and even A-rank and S-rank combat power. If the other party really wants to sweep the monsters in this area, it's really too easy. Even those nations on Earth can do it. And, it doesn't cost much to do this. So, there is only one possibility that this will happen now. That is that the Federation is not capable of handling this matter, or it will simply be overwhelmed and destroyed. Of course, whether this civilization is destroyed or not, it is not a good thing for him. It seems that the rhythm of becoming stronger must be stepped up. Shen Yi's face turned gloomy. It seems that transactions with players must be done as soon as possible. On the one hand, players can be promoted as soon as possible. Improves the quality of blueprint appearance. On the other hand, let him shave the wool a little thicker. What's more, he will not trade too much with the same player, and it is impossible for a single player to buy too much. After Shen Yi had a calculation in his mind, he looked at the other signs. In addition to the 4 signs with biographies written on them, the other 3 are 2 warning signs and 1 guide sign. The warning signs are: do not take any genes from the laboratory out of the laboratory, violators will be held accountable by the Federation, and do not conduct research on human genes, violators will be held accountable by the Federation. Obviously, even in outer planets, the modification of human genes is also not allowed. At least, such a small laboratory is not allowed. The effects of changing human genes are too great to shake the continuation of one's own race in a fundamental way. No civilization can accept such a thing. As for the last signpost, it was very helpful to Shen Yi. It is clearly recorded in the various rooms of this laboratory. A series of things such as laboratories, reference rooms, equipment rooms, and the director's office are clearly marked on it. This will greatly reduce the time Shen Yi spends searching blindly like a headless fly. Go to the office of the director of the institute first, there should be some information I want. Shen Yi controlled a combat robot and drove towards the director's room on the 5th floor. I have to say that this biological laboratory is still very awesome. In addition to a lot of scratches and burn marks inside the corridor. However, neither the glass nor the wall showed any signs of shattering. Even after going up to the 2nd floor, no phosphorus powder could be seen. This greatly reduces the difficulty for him to search for things. However, the people in this place should be dead, and a lot of dust has accumulated on the ground. There are only traces of a battle droid driving past. 7%. Chapter 26. Information Integration Bar, Information from Aboriginal People. Under base radar, of course. If there was a live mouth, it would have been detected long ago. What Shenyi is guarding against is only the possible machine products that exist here. When these things are not activated, the radar cannot detect them. At least mid-level radar can't detect it. However, even the Black Eclipse Dragon can slaughter this institute and slaughter it. Naturally, it is impossible for any strong guards to exist here. At least so far, of the 29 Type 1 combat robots, none of them have ever fired a shot. Shenyi quickly came to the door of the director's room. The door here is tightly closed. It is a mechanical door made of white special material. However, now because there is no energy, it is obviously impossible to turn on. Shenyi directly started the violent demolition with a fighting robot. The power of the Type 1 battle droid is not outstanding though. But it is also a C-level robot, and it is also not too small. Naturally, this door will not have any effect on it. The mechanical gate was quickly dismantled by him. A simple office suddenly appeared in front of him. There is no other furniture in this office except a desk and a chair. Of course, with technology at this level, there is really no need for extra furniture. What's more, this is the office of the director of the institute. How can there be too many complicated things? However, what attracted Shenyi's attention the most was the skeleton in the white coat on the chair. And a round tube-shaped metal rod on the desk in front of the skeleton. Is this person the director of the research institute here? Shenyi curiously controlled a combat robot forward. Sure enough, he saw a nameplate on the person's left chest. It was Ryan Bree's name written on it. Obviously, if the skeleton hadn't been messed with his clothes, he should have been Ryan Breeze himself. Judging from the clothes and bones alone, the Aborigines on this planet seem to be no different from the humans on Earth. However, the other party's head is relatively large, about a circle larger than that of ordinary Earth people. I don't know if this is because the other person's skeleton is more unique, or what is the reason. The other party appears to have committed suicide. On the other side's temple, and on the wall on that side, there is a small black hole. And a pistol with a strange shape fell on the ground. Apparently it also confirmed this possibility. However, Shenyi didn't have the heart to study the cause of the other party's death. It is nothing more than finding that the Black Eclipse Dragon escaped, and I have no hope for myself, so I committed suicide. His attention was now all attracted by the metal rods in the office. Because, this metal rod actually showed a mark. This was the first time he had seen such a situation. Information Integration Bar. Function. There is a lot of information inside, which can be unlocked and read through the holographic computer, helping you complete information collection and unlock more technologies. Shenyi's eyes lit up. Good guy. He straight up good guy. It turns out that this is the correct way to open development. He just said it. How could Pantech rely solely on blueprints? Collecting scientific and technological information that other civilizations have perfected is obviously the correct way to open it. Blueprints are, at best, icing on the cake. Just expand on what you don't currently have. But soon, he frowned again. Can it be read remotely? He is not very worried about letting other people's things appear in his base, it is too dangerous. What if the other party fails to unlock and directly blew himself up? Although this possibility is very slim. However, Shenyi still didn't dare to gamble on this possibility. This kind of thing was really too dangerous. Yes, but the efficiency is slow. It needs to be unlocked through the C-level Type 1 combat robot as a bridge, which takes about 10 minutes. The holographic computer's reply appeared on the screen. Just be able to read, just slow down. Shenyi doesn't have enough time right now. But I don't mind wasting 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes, he could afford 10 hours. He didn't want to overturn the car directly because of his carelessness. Even, these robots sent out, he basically will not recall the base. Who knows what kind of virus was infected outside and came back. Just like the phosphorus powder of this Black Eclipse Dragon. Even if his physique has been strengthened 5 times, he does not feel that he is immune to its effects. After waiting for about 10 minutes, the base computer successfully unlocked the information in the information integration stick. A large amount of data was immediately loaded into the computer. And a video also popped up at the moment. The person in the picture is Professor Ryan Breeze, whose chair has turned into a pool of bones. This seems to be a picture recorded by the other party before his death. The appearance of the other party is not much different from the human beings on Earth. However, the skin is unusually fair, as if there are no pores, and the pair of big eyes looks like a two-dimensional character. However, this does not mean that the other party is good-looking. At least in Shenyi's aesthetic, the other party has absolutely nothing to do with being good-looking. Instead, it looks a bit like the white man in the Alien prequel. At this moment, the other party seems to be saying something. It's just that the pronunciation is very strange, and Shenyi can't understand it anyway. Can you translate what it said? Shenyi frowned slightly and asked. Ding. Start translating. The next moment, the words in the video were translated into Chinese that Shenyi could understand. Later, when you found this video, everything should have ended. Ryan Bliss in the picture showed a wry smile. Although I don't want to be so pessimistic, we Aram people should be defeated. After all, even that kind of monster is out of control. Saying this, Ryan Bree's eyes showed a hint of despair. As if mentioning some taboo-like existence. Shenyi even heard the other person's breathing become a little heavier. That monster. What is it? Their ultimate weapon. Shenyi was a little puzzled, and felt hopeless for a civilization that could allow a biotechnology to develop to this stage. He couldn't imagine what it was. Is it an S-class super weapon? However, this will not directly defeat a powerful civilization. Confused, he continued to look. After more than 10 seconds of silence, Ryan Breeze in the picture said, "Forget it, don't mention these things. Laterers hope that the research data I left can help you. Hey, the beasts of war have gotten out of control and become a mess. Presumably the situation of the Aran people is very bad. It would be great if we paid more attention to the outbreak of the stellar storm. Is the path of genetic technology really wrong?" 7%. Chapter 27. This planet is poisonous. A super biological weapon that seems to have surpassed planetary civilization. The video stops abruptly here. Then this Professor Ryan Breeze should have committed suicide. However, the last words he said made Shenyi fall into contemplation. Stellar storm eruption. Is it a solar storm? Shenyi narrowed his eyes slightly. Solar storm eruptions are an enduring topic even on Earth. Whether it has any impact on the Earth, and what impact it will have, is still unknown. What can be determined is that there is a lot of interference with the signal on the Earth. It may even lead to widespread power outages or local earthquakes. However, from the point of view of the words of Professor Ryan Breeze, these so-called war beast riots are out of control. It was also caused by the eruption of a solar storm. Forget it, these things have nothing to do with me. Shenyi glanced at the large amount of information that was being read and loaded quickly. According to Professor Ryan Bliss, these things are all the research materials of their institute over the years. Even at the computing speed of today's holographic computers, it still took a full 3 minutes to load, which shows the amount of information. At this time, a special progress appeared in front of Shenyi. Planetary level biotechnology progress. 1.7%. After the biotechnology progress reaches 10%, the primary biological gene laboratory will be unlocked. Primary biological gene research laboratory. Biological gene research laboratory can produce biological war beasts. Biological war beasts have extremely high fighting instincts and strong self-healing ability. Seeing the introduction of the primary biological genetics laboratory, Shenyi's eyes suddenly lit up. This is good stuff. The power of the Black Eclipse Dragon really made him feel bright. Although it was set on fire by 1001 type combat robots and 1,000 armed unmanned people, it was immediately given a second. But this still cannot deny the powerful destructive power of the opponent. Moreover, when dealing with biological enemies, the effect of the Black Eclipse Dragon is definitely more terrifying. The black-purple phosphorus powder will make the creatures go crazy, producing the effect of killing each other. It's really too perverted. The two sides had just fought together, but the opposite side directly fought with each other because of the effect of phosphorus powder. If this is paired with his army of robots, who else can stop his attack? What's more, the self-healing effect of these biological war beasts will also reduce his battle damage infinitely. At least, he hasn't unlocked the repair function yet. When the robot is scrapped, you can only watch it scrapped. However, this feature of the biological beast keeps it extremely durable. Especially after the 100-fold enhancement system has been increased, the situation is even more so. This biological genetic laboratory must be unlocked. A flash of fire flashed in Shenyi's eyes. Own this base, as well as a 100-fold strengthening system. He doesn't want to take the mechanical route or the biological route alone, he chooses to have both. After all, his promotion is too exaggerated compared to others. He has a hundredfold enhancement system, even if his technology level is slightly behind. However, after a hundredfold increase, his technological creations will become very perverted, directly raising several levels. And his cost will not increase because of quality improvement. The only troublesome place is that the energy consumption will increase. Of course, this was just a happy annoyance, and Shenyi didn't feel anything wrong with it. He began to quickly browse through the large number of documents. Of course, he didn't understand these things very well. It would be almost the same if the top biological genes on the Earth were collected. However, Shenyi didn't want to understand these things, as long as he could use them. He intends to take this to see how far the world's biotechnology has reached, and to understand the general situation of the world. After about 10 minutes, Shenyi probably had the information he wanted. Integrate the information in the stick based on this information. This world is jointly ruled by two major powers, the Federation and the Alliance, and the two sides are constantly at odds with each other. They all try to destroy and annex each other and unify the entire planet. Therefore, they are all trying to create super weapons that break through the planetary barrier, trying to destroy the other side in one fell swoop. Unlike the planes, tanks, and nuclear weapons on Earth, this world is taking the biotechnology route, and their main combat power is various biological war beasts. If you really want to say which is stronger, biotechnology and mechanical technology, it is really hard to say, only that each has its own characteristics. According to the information here, the strongest beast in this world has even reached the S rank. That is already the highest combat power of a planetary level civilization. It is a super weapon that can easily make a province spanning more than 300 kilometers disappear from the map. This is something that even conventional nuclear weapons on Earth cannot do. This also confirms Shenyi's previous thoughts, this world has great horror. Even if he came to Earth, I'm afraid it's much better than landing on this planet. But fortunately, the location of this research institute is relatively remote, and there is no such thing as a large military area around. Shenyi gave a wry smile. He thought he had more than 10,000 C-class robots under his command, which was already very good. But looking at the world, he is still no different from the ants. The Black Eclipse Dragon, whose rank has reached rank B, is placed in this world. In fact, it is no different from Sha Guo's J10, but it belongs to the standard conventional combat power. And the more advanced A-level war beasts can be regarded as the cutting-edge combat power of various countries. Generally, it is similar to the status of the fifth-generation fighters on the Earth. However, while the status of the fifth-generation fighters is the same, it means that their number will definitely not be small. Coupled with the super beasts comparable to S-class. This Nima, when he first discovered the surroundings, he thought he was starting from hell, and it was already very difficult. It turned out that the horned dragon was just an appetizer. The big environment of this world is the real purgatory mode. In the future, he will face at least tens of thousands of B-rank war beasts, thousands of A-rank war beasts, and even those S-rank war beasts of unknown number. Moreover, judging from the comparison of the number of nuclear weapons reserves of human beings on Earth, the number of S-rank war beasts on this planet is probably also quite large. And, at the end of these messages, Shenyi also saw a piece of news that made his heart heavy. According to a sigh at the end of Professor Ryan Breeze, he suspects that the Alliance and the Federation may have secretly created the existence of war beasts beyond the S-class. If the beast beyond the S-class really exists, then Shenyi may have to face monsters beyond the planetary level in the future. And S-rank war beasts can already easily destroy a place as big as a province. What abilities beyond S-rank war beasts have? Not even Shenyi dared to imagine it. This planet is really poisonous. Can he apply for a replacement planet? 7%. Chapter 28. The next plan, the Holy Shield automatic defense system is built. Forget it, those things have nothing to do with me for the time being. Shenyi shook his head. Now even A-level war beasts are to him. It's all a huge trouble, not to mention the beasts that surpass the S rank. Instead of thinking about so much, there is nothing. It is better to think about how to get this primary biological genetic research laboratory out. If these biological war beasts can be used by him, it will be of great help. The perfect fusion of biotechnology and mechanical technology is definitely the most terrifying existence in this world. Moreover, this information did not just help him. There is also a lot of information about this world in mind. Like a complete world map. This planet is so much bigger than Earth. Looking at the huge planet model in front of him, Shenyi was speechless for a long time. The volume of this planet is 5 times larger than that of the Earth. What is this concept? The 300 kilometers that his radar can cover now. On the entire planet, it's the size of a small particle on a basketball and a basketball. This comparison is too exaggerated. Shenyi couldn't help but let out a wry smile. He thought that his current radar range was quite large, and it was almost comparable to a smaller province on Earth. As a result, looking at the entire planet, what does this count? But being a big planet isn't all bad. At least there are enough resources on this planet. Of course, this is actually not a good thing. Because there are only 2 countries on this planet, the Federation and the Alliance, they both hate each other and want to get rid of the other. Therefore, it has always been almost crazy to climb technology and build weapons. Extensive military expansion and arms competition. This means that the number of powerful war beasts in this world will be an immeasurable number. If he wants to take down this planet, these powerful war beasts are an unavoidable barrier. It's a bit difficult, but that's the challenge. Shenyi sighed. What if he surpassed the S level, as long as he could raise the base level? Even if it is an A-level technological creation, after it has been strengthened 100 times. It is not necessarily impossible to compete with the beasts beyond the S rank. Moreover, even if the A level is not enough, then he will go directly to the S level. The existence of this technology beyond the peak of planetary civilization may be an insurmountable peak for other players. But, for Shenyi, that's actually all there is to it. The hundredfold strengthening system will always drop God. Today, there are about 7 biological genetic research institutes that he can roughly identify. Among them, 6 are small biological genetic research institutes, which are equivalent to the biological genetic research institute he has discovered now. Like these monsters running around in this huge desert where Shenyi is. Basically, they all ran out of the institute of Professor Ryan Bliss. Black Eclipse Dragon is just one of their research projects. These small biological genetic research institutes are limited in size and cannot study higher war beasts. Because they are not far from each other, it is about 700 or 800 kilometers. So, there is still a lot of communication between them. Professor Ryan Breeze obviously wants to leave a place for the latecomer, so that the latecomer can find as much information as possible to rebuild civilization. It's a pity that the latecomers didn't wait, but Shenyi was cheaper. There is also a place left, which is a medium-sized biological genetic research institute. According to the records, this is the place where Professor Ryan Breeze once visited and studied. Therefore, he will have a position in a medium-sized biological genetic research institute that can be regarded as a secret place in the Federation. The level of war beasts developed by medium-sized biological genetic research institutes far exceeds that of small biological genetic research institutes. Among them, there are dozens of B-level war beasts under research. Even the number of A-level war beasts is as high as 5. If Shenyi wanted to go to this medium-sized biological genetic research institute, he might have to face at least 5 A-level war beasts and dozens of B-grade war beasts. Note that it's a species and not just. Exactly how many there are, even Ryan Bliss is not sure. But Shenyi estimates the number will not be less than double digits. In other words, with his current strength, going to the medium-sized biological genetic research institute is basically no different from courting death. A-level war beasts are not something he can currently deal with. With the advantage of firepower, he can easily kill B-level war beasts. But in the face of A-level war beasts, he didn't think he could deal with it so easily. It's like the difference between a 4th-generation fighter and a 5th-generation fighter. That's not an order of magnitude existence at all. If the 2 sides fight, the former will not even find the trace of the latter, and will be killed directly. Moreover, war beasts are compared to mechanical weapons such as tanks and planes. The most terrifying thing is their special abilities. Just like the phosphorus powder that the Black Eclipse Dragon can make creatures crazy, the ability of the Ceratopsian to move freely in the sand. These are all abilities unique to the beasts of war. Without knowing it, even Shenyi could not guarantee that he would not suffer if he really encountered these beasts. Therefore, improving their basic strength is still a top priority now. As long as he can make C-level, or even B-level robots. After a wave of strengthening of the 100-fold strengthening system, that is at least the start of A-level. No matter what special means these war beasts have, he can directly crush them in one wave. The next target is these biological genetic research institutes. Shen Yi stroked the red dot on the planet in front of him with his fingers, his eyes full of heat. If he can have the ability to produce B rank or above war beasts, that is equivalent to him having an army composed entirely of S rank. This is much more reliable than waiting for other players to explode high-level blueprints. Ding! The automatic defense system of the Holy Shield has been completed. May I ask whether to start the construction? At this time, a prompt suddenly appeared in front of Shen Yi. Shen Yi was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed. Has half an hour passed? Then let me see how the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield works. Start building. As his voice fell, the entire base shook slightly. The appearance of the base displayed through the holographic computer. Shen Yi could see around the base, just like a transformer, many forts were growing. The scene was so magical that Shen Yi even felt like he was watching a movie. Soon, the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield was completed. A full 16 20mm caliber automatic cannons appeared around the base. The 4 45mm caliber automatic guns appeared on the top of the base, shining with a black sheen. Today's base is finally out of a situation where there is no defense capability. 7%. Chapter 29. Automatic machine guns are so perverted, can automatic artillery not go to heaven? And after a flash of golden light, the system prompt also sounded in Shen Yi's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The automatic defense system X1 of the Holy Shield you produced has been increased by 100 times. The cannon that looked ordinary at first. He was instantly enveloped in a chilling aura. Even across the screen, Shen Yi could feel the fierce aura emanating from above. This feeling is not an exaggeration, but an instinctive reaction of people when faced with a crisis. It's like seeing the muzzle of a gun pointed at him in reality, and subconsciously chooses to avoid it. Good guy, really domineering. Shen Yi looked at the 20 ferocious killers and couldn't help but sighed in admiration. The base after being armed at this moment is like a sleeping beast. Once Su Xing, it will definitely fall apart. I just don't know how powerful it is now. Shen Yi had some expectations in his heart. After the 12.7mm caliber machine gun of a combat robot was strengthened, the power of the bullets was strengthened and the power of the bullets was no different from that of artillery shells. At this moment, the full 20mm caliber and 45mm caliber really count the existence of the gun. How will it be strengthened? With excitement, Shen Yi called out the information about the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield at this moment. Sacred Shield Automatic Defense System. Grade Evaluation. Grade B. Capacity. Base exclusive defense facilities, equipped with 16 20mm caliber automatic cannons and 4 45mm caliber automatic cannons, of which the 20mm caliber automatic cannon has a maximum range of 30,000 meters, a maximum rate of fire of 3,000 rounds per second, and a 45mm caliber. The automatic artillery has a maximum range of 45,000 meters, a maximum rate of fire of 1,000 rounds per second, and is associated with the base radar and computer, which can lock the enemy through the base radar and computer. Consumption. 500 energy points are consumed every day. Hiss. Looking at the data in front of him, Shen Yi couldn't help taking a deep breath. This B-level Holy Shield automatic defense system is too perverted. As expected of an existence that is comparable to the world's top ace fighters. Although slightly weaker in range. But in fact, as a self-defense counterattack weapon, it is enough to protect the security of the base. The biggest highlight of this B-level Holy Shield automatic defense system is actually not its terrifying rate of fire. Of course, there is no denying its excellence. A 20mm caliber automatic cannon can fire 3,000 shells per second, or 180,000 per minute. Even if you look at the entire Earth, there is no machine gun that can match it. The 45mm caliber automatic artillery, although the rate of fire is slightly slower, can only fire 1,000 shells per second. However, it is also 60,000 rounds per minute. Even with its original power, the rate of fire is still very high. If coupled with the increased power, that can only be described as destroying the sky and destroying the Earth. However, this still cannot be its biggest highlight. Its biggest highlight is that it can use the base's radar and holographic computer to perform calculations and accurately lock the target. The radar performance of the base naturally goes without saying. The coverage area is as high as 300 kilometers, and everything is unavoidable for investigation. It is something that cannot be measured by the level of technology. With this terrifying radar, the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield is completely equivalent to having clairvoyance. And the holographic computer owned by the upgraded base has an even more terrifying computing speed. In the previous holographic computer use guide, the last one is that the holographic computer can drive the operation of weapon systems below grade A. This means that the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield will develop its power to the extreme under the operation of the holographic computer. Once a target approaches the attack range of the Divine Shield automatic defense system, there is no possibility of avoiding it. Unless the target has exceeded the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield too much. Of course, in order to achieve this step, the opponent must at least be in the top row of A rank, or even half-footed into S rank. However, if the other party really has such a high level, even if he was really locked by the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield, Shenyi would definitely not be able to help him. Try how powerful it is. Shenyi licked his lips and set his target on a barren hill about 100 meters away, 20,000 meters away. 1 kilometer is 1 kilometer, and 20,000 meters is a distance of 20 kilometers. This distance is already very terrifying. The first is a small test of 16 20mm artillery pieces. After Shenyi locked the target, the muzzles of the 16 automatic cannons suddenly spewed out terrifying fire. The entire base seemed to be shaking slightly. Bang bang bang. The dense chain of bullets directly pulled a straight line in the air. Moreover, the sound of the firing did not feel any interruption at all. The concept of 3,000 shots per second is really scary. In just 1 second, 16 20mm caliber automatic cannons fired 48,000 shells. Boom, boom, boom. A series of scary little mushroom clouds kept rising. Almost every flower is more than 10 meters high, and the umbrella cover is close to 5 meters. This power is no less than those of those 100mm caliber heavy artillery. At this moment, these amazing mushroom clouds are no longer noticeable. Because, the moment they take shape, they will be covered with new mushroom clouds. The explosion flame was as dazzling as a flash bomb. Even though they were separated by 20 kilometers, Shenyi still felt the slight vibration of the ground under his feet. And when the light fell again, the 100-meter high barren mountain in the distance had been completely wiped out. Only a bottomless pit remained. Hey, this power is too terrifying. Shenyi took a deep breath. Light as a 20mm caliber automatic cannon. It was enough to shred the previous B-rank Black Eclipse Dragon in 1 second. There are these 16 20mm automatic cannons. Any creature below a rank can never get close, no matter how many they come. Under such a terrorist attack, that can really be described as the barren grass where I have passed. It can only be said that it is worthy of the exclusive facilities of the base. This Holy Shield automatic defense system is even more perverted than he imagined. Just these 16 20mm automatic artillery pieces are so perverted, so these 45mm automatic artillery pieces can't go to heaven. There was a trace of heat in Shenyi's eyes, and he looked at the 4 45mm automatic guns that had not yet started. Come on, baby, let me see how powerful you are. 8%. Chapter 30. The terrifying automatic artillery, the future development trend. This time, he targeted a barren mountain of 100 meters away 30,000 kilometers away. If this distance is described in kilometers, it is a full 30 kilometers. This distance is beyond the range of many howitzers. Even some heavy artillery can't reach this range. However, this is not the ultimate range of automatic artillery. Of course, Shenyi didn't need to choose the ultimate range, the distance of 30 kilometers was just right. Bang bang bang. The sound of the dense shells sounded again, this time slightly better than the last time. However, when it comes to static, it is far better than before. It even shook the dust around the base directly. If it weren't for the better sound insulation of the base, I'm afraid that ordinary people would have perforated their eardrums if they were so close. My God, this movement is too big. Shenyi felt the base vibrating slightly, and couldn't help but stunned. You must know that the base has been strengthened, and both its shock resistance and strength have been greatly improved. However, under this 45mm caliber automatic gun, still trembling slightly, one can imagine how terrifying the back seat is. And the back seat also represents power. This made him look forward to the power of this artillery even more. However, 30 kilometers is not a short distance after all. This can already traverse some slightly larger cities. After a full 2 seconds, the 4,000 shells of the 445mm caliber automatic guns fell. Boom. This time, it is no longer the small mushroom cloud that appeared before. Instead, they are thick mushrooms with a height of more than 30 meters and an umbrella cover of nearly 10 meters. After being strengthened, this 45 millimeters caliber automatic artillery. The power is no less than those of the 150 millimeters caliber heavy artillery. The explosion range of the shells was as high as 200 meters. The lethality of a single shot was extremely terrifying. Shenyi dared to assert that even if the previous Black Eclipse dragon suffered a single shot, it will definitely be hit hard in an instant, and may even be instantly killed. Coupled with the terrifying rate of fire of this thing, I am afraid that even A-level war beasts may not be able to resist, right? This is too strong. Shenyi swallowed, his eyes full of shock. With this B-level Holy Shield automatic defense system, as long as it is not a large-scale A-rank war beast cluster, or S-rank or even S-rank war beasts come, his safety will be foolproof. At this point, he can finally say that he has gained a firm foothold in this world. After all, where he is now is not a border area. Nor is it a very important core area. Not to mention the large biological genetic research institute around. Not even a military base exists. There is basically no possibility of encountering or surpassing S-rank war beasts. Of course, if he was really so unlucky. He just happened to be met by an S-class war beast who came out for a walk, so he had nothing to say. However, this possibility is very slim, and it is basically unlikely to exist. After all, this planet is really too big, 5 times the size of Earth. And there are only 2 countries, the Federation and the Union. However, it's not appropriate to make any big moves next. Shenyi leaned back in the chair and pondered. The news I got this time was really surprising. This planet is really, really dangerous. His strength is not enough to make him free from taboos. At least until the strength is updated and the current site is eaten. He wasn't going to bother anymore. If you really provoke a powerful and ruthless character over, then he didn't say whether it would be destroyed directly. But it will definitely return to before liberation. However, I don't know if the things in this institute can be converted into materials. There should be a lot of rare materials extracted from here. Shenyi glanced at the picture from a combat robot at the Institute of Biological Gene. This place is actually huge. Not only the 5-story building on the surface, but also a huge laboratory underground. There are a lot of sophisticated instruments in there. Although these things have been scrapped, the materials are still there. If it can be recycled, it will help him a lot. Hearing his words, a virtual frame suddenly appeared in front of his eyes. Ding, you can convert these finished products into basic materials through a working robot. Shenyi's eyes lit up, which was a big help. Sure enough, the voice operation is always amazing, although sometimes it is a bit stupid. But anyway, he will listen to what he has to say. If that's the case, then make it again. Shenyi said and glanced at his energy at the moment. Due to the Type 1 combat robot under his hands at this moment, the number has reached 7,000. Plus 1,000 armed drones. The speed of harvesting these monsters has been much faster than before. After a few hours, the energy he had stored had reached an astonishing 230,000. Then build another 5,000 Type 1 combat robots and 5,000 Type 1 work robots. Originally, he did not intend to build so many types of combat robots. After all, this thing is bound to be eliminated in the future. However, after learning about the situation in this world, Shenyi was not so optimistic. If there is no such terrifying, even beyond the existence of S-class beasts, then his previous thoughts were naturally correct. Just take a big move in one breath and knock down the entire planet. But now, after knowing that there may be existences beyond the S level on this planet, his idea will naturally fail. In front of such a mountain, it is so easy to unify the entire planet. He'd better not be too lofty, and develop himself well. Although the combat power of the Type 1 combat robot is not particularly strong, it is only a C-level creation. But anyway, they are cheap. It is very easy to harvest those ordinary monsters and make a quick buck. Anyway, these C-level Type 1 combat robots are not worried about the market. He believes in developing at the speed of the average player. The C-class Type 1 combat robot will become a hot seller for a long time. There will definitely be a lot of pickup people who want these C-class Type 1 combat robots that he doesn't like much. A full 225,000 energy points were instantly deducted. 5,000 Type 1 combat robots and 5,000 Type 1 working robots immediately entered the production queue. And after finishing these things, Shenyi turned his attention to the chat bar. Next, He also needs to see. A few hours later, the leaks. Bah, how is the development of the players? 8%. Chapter 31. Mr. Shen is righteous, I might as well. The chat bar just opened. A large amount of information suddenly rolled up. FK, has more than 100 million people been eliminated? This game is too cruel. Brother die, in the second you speak, thousands of people are burping. I'm already dead, and my head is numb, and there are many brothers who committed suicide. Alas, this game is really too difficult. Then what can we do? Now in this environment, we must rely on teamwork, but across the internet, who knows whether the person on the other side is a ghost, and the only person who can be trusted is his own family. My family can't be trusted. I was cheated of 1000 energy points by my brother's beast. Damn, that's my brother. Anyway, everyone be careful, there are too many liars here. Who is not trying their best to survive? Good guy, I'm a good guy. And I was deceived by my own family. Looking at the players' discussion, Shenyi's expression became extremely strange. It's nothing to deceive outsiders, after all, you can only do anything you can to survive. But lying to the family is a bit outrageous. In this situation, family members are at least more reliable than outsiders. If players want to get through the predicament quickly, it is undoubtedly the best choice to join forces with their families. Just like the Li Luoxi family, it hasn't been long since the game started. He actually already had the capital to trade with him. This is obviously the strength of uniting the family, which is obviously much stronger than fighting alone. Even the Ohuang who started the game is definitely not comparable. And if you offend your family, what if you make a fortune at the time? In the follow-up, without the help of family members, the development will inevitably be much slower. In the future, it will definitely be separated from the player's large army. However, at this stage, there should be many players who have joined forces. In this case, the leaks should have grown a little fatter. Shenyi licked his lips, and there was a trace of greed belonging to capital in his eyes. He continued to read, wanting more information. Sure enough, it did not exceed his expectations. The player has begun to enter the family-style small group mode. I can only say that now whoever has more family members can do whatever they want. Except for the big family, of course. Funny. Of course, ordinary small families are ecstatic. As long as they are not stupid enough to have a particularly tense relationship with their family members, they can basically pass the early stage easily. Tisk tisk. Before this game was called, those big clans who showed off their power and might not be able to get up now. After all, the intrigues of the big clan can only be understood by everyone who understands it. I've collected enough resources for Mr. Shenyi now. When will Mr. Shenyi sell a few more C-level Type 1 combat robots, so that I can take down one of the mines that I was interested in before? Also looking forward to it, Mr. Shenyi is really selling too little. It's dry. That is estimated to have to wait for the big boss Shenyi to develop. Although I am curious about how the big boss Shenyi did it, right now I just want a C-level Type 1 combat robot to survive. It seems that after a few hours, the players have calmed down a lot. This makes Shenyi very satisfied. What he hates most are those who are morally kidnapped. When you move your mouth, you want others to take out your good things. Where in the world is there such a good thing? Of course, it may also be because the number of their chats has reached. However, no matter what, the chat bar now makes Shenyi much more comfortable. He doesn't care about the mentality of the players who trade with him, he only needs the result. After all, at such a long distance, those players couldn't interfere with him. Next, Shenyi intends to sell 100 Type 1 combat robots. This is the maximum amount that Shogwo players can eat in his estimation. For Shogwo players, he still intends to have a limited supply. As for foreign players, let them grow and develop first, this leak will be cut later. After all, even if you sell it to them now, they may not be able to afford it. Shenyi did not intend to treat foreign players as kindly as he did to Shogwo players. With so little resources, he wants to buy his C-class Type 1 combat robot. How can it reflect the value of a fighting robot without raising the price tenfold? As for whether this price will exceed the value of the C-level Type 1 combat robot, Shenyi wasn't worried at all. C-class robots are simply not something that should appear in the early stages. This thing is an artifact in the early stage, okay. Isn't it normal to sell a little more expensive? As long as the player can't build a C-class robot, he will never lower the price. Soon, 100 Type 1 combat robots were put up for sale. Sales. Type 1 Battle Robot X100. Seller. Shen Yi. Item rating. Grade C. Seller's needs. Unit price. 5,000 units of iron, 3,000 units of copper and 500 units of psionic crystals or 5,000 energy points, and there are special types of blueprints for private chat. Purchase restriction. Only Sha Kingdom players can purchase. This time, Shen Yi also added an option for energy purchases. However, it is directly 200 times the cost price. At the current stage, energy is much more precious than those materials. At least, the current rudimentary robots only need energy to produce. This is also to let him return a mouthful of blood, and he is also currently lacking energy. A type of working robot, a type of multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle, and a type of combat robot all require a lot of energy to make. Base upgrades and facility upgrades also require energy. Even hunting monsters and using a multi-purpose energy harvester, Shen Yi can get a lot of energy. However, this is still far from enough for him. And after Shen Yi hung up a fighting robot, almost at the same time, everyone was staring at Shen Yi. They have all seen 100 Type 1 combat robots listed on the trading line. Hundreds of units were put up directly. It's such a big deal. A dignified middle-aged man with a calm appearance and an air of superiority on his body raised his brows slightly. However, his hand speed was extremely fast, and he quickly clicked the order button. In an instant, 5 C-level Type 1 combat robots were directly subdued by him. Unfortunately, the development time is really too short. He and his family tried their best, but only managed to scrape together the resources to buy 5 units. However, the price remains the same. It seems that it is really the same as those people guessed before. This Mr. Shen Yi is doing his best to help other Sha Kingdom players. The middle-aged man sighed, and his majestic face was full of admiration and emotion. It seems that I am also a gentleman with the heart of a villain. Mr. Shen is righteous. 8%. Chapter 32. 100-fold enhancement system, forever. It's not just him. Many people in this wave have grabbed the Type 1 battle robot consigned by Shen Yi. In particular, some people who have few resources but many monsters near the base are even more ecstatic. This simply gave them a way to survive, taking care of them. For a time, the entire world channel was thanked by the Sha Goran who bought the C-Class Type 1 combat robot. Damn it, I got 2 C-Class Type 1 battle robots. Thank you so much, Mr. Shen Yi. I thought I had no hope, but Mr. Shen Yi actually opened the energy purchase option. This is really a good person. I'm dry, I didn't catch it a little bit too slow. But thanks to Big Boss Shen Yi. After all, I see a hope. That's right, my dad's side is full of monsters with a threat level of A and above. Our family was in despair. I didn't expect Big Brother Shen Yi to rescue us immediately. Big Brother Shen Yi, I love you. I'm envious of the real name system, but it's a pity. I don't have enough resources at all. I'm going to start saving resources too. By the way, did you find that only Sha Guo players can buy this time? The children abroad are crying with anger, ha ha ha. That seems to be true. Ha ha ha, Big Boss Shen Yi is bullshit. This moment is definitely the time when the players of the Sha Kingdom are screaming. Although many of them didn't even buy one of the fighting robots that Shen Yi sold. Even many of them can't even afford it. However, that didn't stop them from feeling sullen in their hearts. They have such a powerful boss in their own family, and they must grow faster than players from other countries. In this way, their players in the Sha Kingdom must be powerful. At that time, they will be able to afford things that other big guys can't use. Not to mention how well it can make them develop, at least it can keep them alive. And foreign players have obviously noticed this. They all cried out, "Don't do this, Mr. Shen Yi, we all came from the same earth, we should help each other." That's right, you can't just help the people of Sha. We also respect you very much. The Sakura Kingdom was also a part of the Sha Kingdom 2000 years ago. We are also from the Sha Kingdom. The boss asks for help. The price that Sha Guo players can afford, we can also afford it. Mr. Shen Yi, please don't favor one over the other. I love Sha Guo, we and Sha Guo are forever friends. Boss Shen Yi, look at me. I'm willing to pay 3 times. No, 5 times the price. Boss Shen Yi, let's take a look at the child. At this moment, these foreign players also begged after learning about the situation. However, their tone was also full of humility and euphemism, for fear of causing Shen Yi's ill will. So much so that Shenyi would never buy anything for them again. If that kind of thing does happen, this is undoubtedly a big nightmare for them. After all, in this technological soaring game, no one knows what will happen in the end. No one knows how many final soaring places will be. Therefore, no one dares to let others pull themselves away that far. Now, these Sha Guo players who have sea-level Type 1 combat robots seem to be walking in front of them. If in the future Shenyi will only sell this C-class Type 1 combat robot to Sha Goran, that means that they will be thrown away by all the people of Sha. This is definitely what they don't want to see. If it was normal, on the same planet, then they wouldn't be so worried. After all, even if they don't sell it to them, they can still make trouble. Delay the development of Sha Kingdom. However, now they can't even leave the planet, let alone travel to the stars to delay the pace of Sha Kingdom. Now, the only thing they can do is to ask Shenyi to open a trade channel for them. This scene obviously made Sha Guo players extremely excited. Ha ha ha, you arrogant bastards are still here today. Big boss Shenyi will always be in awe. Don't sell it to them. Make them jealous. Upstairs, how can you think so? I suggest that Shenyi not only buy, but also sell it fiercely, directly selling it for 30 or 30 times the price. Earn all the resources of this group of ghosts. Haha, yes, that's how it should be. Who makes it a seller's market now? 20 or 30 times is enough. Isn't it good to sell dozens or hundreds of times? Looking at the chats of all the channels, Shenyi couldn't help feeling a little ashamed. Good guy, it turns out that he is still soft-hearted 10 times. The Sha people in the chat group are really more ruthless than the other. They do get it right, though, it's a seller's market. A C-class combat robot. No, it should be said that he is the only C-class robot here. This is something that players can't get in the early stage at all. But, again, it's something that's crucial to their development. Therefore, even if he sells it more expensively, these foreign players must hold their noses and endure it. Otherwise, it will be directly out of touch. This price is definitely not what they want to see. And this is actually what they did to Sha Guo back then. A large number of garbage and arms were poured into the Sha Kingdom, but they were sold at sky-high prices. Because he was too weak, the forced Sha Guo had to buy it. Now there is no doubt that a sentence has been fulfilled. Cause in effect reincarnation, retribution is unhappy. After thinking about it for a while, he still typed something. Because the inventory in hand is temporarily insufficient, the priority is to sell to Sha Guo players. Foreign players will start sales after the production is large enough, but the price will increase a lot. After all, what I give Sha Guo is only the cost price. That's right, it's just the cost price. Funny, the price he paid for making a C-class Type 1 combat robot is huge. Doghead. However, these words apparently convinced those players to believe it was true. At least, they seemed to believe it. Shenyi boss Gao Yi. Anyway, I'd be reluctant to change it to me. Boss Shenyi is always in awe. Someone bring my genealogy up and put it directly on the highest place for Boss Shenyi. Thank you, Mr. Shenyi. It doesn't matter if the price is a little higher, we can't let you suffer in vain. Thank you, Mr. Shenyi, for giving us the opportunity. We will prepare enough supplies now. Seeing these self-praise words, Shenyi let out a laugh. I am afraid that many of these people are scolding him behind his back. But what does it matter? It didn't affect him at all from making a fortune from them. These people would never have imagined how easy it was for him to get these C-class Type 1 combat robots. It can only be said that the 100-fold strengthening system will always drop God. 8%. Chapter 33. Li Luoxi. Boss, do you need this blueprint? Among the 100 C-class Type 1 combat robots sold in this wave, 32 options are energy payments, and all the others are resource payments. Therefore, this wave of light is energy, and Shenyi directly earned a full 160,000. The 2,500 energy points that were originally spent were directly multiplied by 64 times. It can be said that Shenyi has already made a lot of money just from this energy. And that's not counting the remaining resources. The remaining 68 combat robots exchanged for resources. It brought him 340,000 units of iron, 204,000 units of copper, and 34,000 units of psionic crystals. Such huge resources are enough to allow him to have a lot of surplus after fully upgrading the base. The only thing he lacked now was energy. As long as the energy is in place, he can start a full upgrade. Shen Yi clicked on today's upgradable interface. Secondary survival base. Upgrade requirements: iron 342,000 20,000, copper 205,000 15,000, psionic crystal 34,000 3,000, energy 234,000 300,000. Intermediate radar. Upgrade requirements: iron 342,000 3,000, copper 205,000 2,000, psionic crystal 34,000 300, energy 234,000 30,000. Intermediate machinery factory. Upgrades require iron 342,000 5,000, copper 205,000 3,000, psionic crystal 34,000 500, energy 234,000 25,000. Intermediate living factory. Upgrade requirements: iron 342,000 1,000, copper 205,000 800, psionic crystal 34,000 100, energy 234,000 10,000. Primary energy mining equipment factory. Upgrade requirements: iron 342,000 2,000, copper 205,000 1,500, psionic crystal 34,000 300, energy 234,000 20,000. Now his resources such as iron and copper are more than enough. However, the energy aspect is a bit worse. Of course, the difference is not particularly large, and it is estimated that it can be collected in an hour or two. In less than a day, the survival base was directly upgraded to level 3. This speed is absolutely appalling. Shen Yi couldn't help but feel a little joy in his heart. A second-level survival base can withstand D-level attacks. The third-level survival base can at least resist the attack of the C-level. Even in the face of a B-level attack, it may not be impossible to resist for a while, coupled with the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield. It can be said that as long as it does not encounter a large-scale wave of A-level monsters, or monsters above A-level, he is at least in the safety aspect, there is no problem. Moreover, when the radar is upgraded to an advanced level, the detection range will inevitably become wider. He was also able to spot the enemy hundreds or even thousands of kilometers in advance. Such a long distance is enough for him to have enough time to prepare. Next, just wait. Shen Yi leaned back in the chair with a hint of comfort. As long as he completes a wave of upgrades to the base, the next step is to fully expand the army. A type of combat robot and a type of multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle are two things that must be mass-produced. One is his current main combat power, and the other is his future energy source, both of which can be described as top priorities. However, both also require a lot of energy to produce. Shen Yi was casually bothering the chat bar, when a message from the private chat channel caught his attention. Li Luoxi. Boss, do you need this blueprint? D-level. Elementary Artificial Intelligence Blueprint. Shen Yi immediately sat up straight. D-class Artificial Intelligence Blueprint. He suddenly became excited. He didn't expect the artificial intelligence blueprint that he was thinking of. I actually got it from Li Luoxi, a high-quality leak. It's more than just premium leaks. This is super leaks. Can give him a baby automatically. The message was sent 2 hours ago, when he should have been working on the information gathering stick. So, I didn't see it in the first place. I don't know if they stayed or not. This can't help but make Shen Yi a little nervous. After all, this was the first time he saw a D-level blueprint in the hands of a player. You must know that even his Holy Shield automatic defense system is only D-level. Yes, what are you going to change? Shen Yi replied to the message after thinking for a moment. This is also his decision after consideration. Li Luoxi impressed him very well, and gave him the blueprint for artificial intelligence he desperately needed. He should open up more options for Li Luoxi. Even a multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle can also be included in the transaction. On the other hand, Li Luoxi, who originally thought that Shen Yi was not interested in this drawing, saw Shen Yi's reply, and his face suddenly showed a mixture of joy and worry. The joy is that the big boss Shen Yi actually returned to her. This really surprised her. After all, in her opinion, there are probably no less than tens of millions of people like Shen Yi who talk to him privately every day. How could she pay attention to her little transparency? The relationship between the two is limited to one transaction. The worry is that this primary artificial intelligence blueprint is actually not very good. Although it is also the blueprint of the D level, the level is still above the first type battle robot. However, according to the introduction of this blueprint, the intelligence level of this primary artificial intelligence is really too bad. I am afraid that at most it is about the same level as the artificial mental retardation of Siri. In fact, after sending the blueprint to Shenyi, she already regretted it. Unfortunately, this chat system does not have a withdrawal function. She quickly explained. Big brother, the function of this blueprint is not very good, let's forget it, I can't cheat you. Shenyi raised his eyebrows when he saw Li Luoxi's words. Good guy, is there really such a person in the world? He could see that Li Luoxi didn't want to raise the price, but really didn't want to sell him garbage. However, he is not afraid that this primary artificial intelligence is artificial mental retardation. There is a hundredfold enhancement system, even Siri, he can make it complete super evolution. According to the previous experience of strengthening the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield. This is just a D-level primary artificial intelligence blueprint, and there is a high probability that it will be directly enhanced to the B-level level. This level of artificial intelligence is likely to be comparable to the original Jarvis. It doesn't matter, this blueprint is very helpful to me. What are you going to change? A type of combat robot, a type of work robot, or a type of multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle? 9%. Chapter 34. I'm too kind. On the other side, Li Luoxi also saw the message of 3 things sent by Shenyi. Hey, that's too exaggerated. Li Luoxi took a deep breath and felt that her scalp was numb. Of the 3 things sent by Shenyi, the C-Class Type 1 combat robot is of course needless to say. She has already bought one, so know very well how exactly it performs. What shocked her was the newly added C-Class Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle and D-level Type 1 working robot. The performance of these 2 robots is simply outrageous. Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle. Ability. Due to special reasons, it has been greatly enhanced. If you are in any environment, you can generate 100 energy points per day. If you are in a special environment, you can generate 300 energy points per day. Grading. Grade C. Consumption. None. Type 1 working robot. Capacity. The highest power can lift 80 tons of heavy objects, the maximum load is 800 tons, and the maximum speed is 280 kilometers per hour. Grade rating. D level. Consumption. Consumes 20 energy points per day. The fact that a multi-purpose energy harvesting vehicle can produce 300 points of energy per day is already very scary. 300 energy points a day, 9,000 points a month. If the number of this type of multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle is large enough. Not to mention how much energy she can earn, at least she can achieve a stable energy balance. You know, she needs to pay a large amount of energy every day to keep the base and robots running. Even, it is necessary to hoard energy to prepare for the upgrade of the base. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many monsters on mom and dad's side. It has provided a lot of energy for their big family, and now they are afraid that they will not even make too many robots. And this D-Class Type 1 working robot, this is too exaggerated. Li Luoxi was almost scared to cry by this performance. This is dozens or hundreds of times more powerful than an E-Class Type 1 working robot. An ordinary Type 1 working robot can only lift 1,000 kilograms, or a ton of weight. And this D-Class Type 1 working robot can lift 80 tons. The maximum load even reached 800 tons, a full 800 times more. What a magical transformation this has gone through. As expected of the big boss Shenyi. Even such an ordinary Type 1 working robot can be transformed into such a pervert. To actually use such a powerful thing in exchange for garbage like me. The big guy is too good, he has a bad personality and will suffer. Li Luoxi felt both joy and guilt in her heart. Originally, she felt that she had taken a huge advantage of the C-Class Type 1 combat robot before. It turned out that Shenyi still wants to take such a precious D-level or even C-level robot and exchange it for her with a useless D-level primary artificial intelligence blueprint. This is not soft-hearted, what else could it be? She hurriedly typed and said, don't worry about the big deal, I'll just give you this blueprint. Also, you can't always be so kind, and you must help others without affecting your own development. Seeing the message from Li Luoxi, Shenyi's face became extremely strange. Kindness. Can he still relate to the word? Whether it is from the plan to exterminate all the creatures in the radar, or from selling robots at high prices to drain the player's money. He has nothing to do with kindness. However, this Li Luoxi is indeed a good woman. Shenyi touched his chin and clicked his tongue. However, he could actually understand that Li Luoxi would have such an idea. In fact, it is not surprising that the other party has such an idea. After all, outsiders don't know that he has such an outrageous thing as a hundredfold enhancement system. I can't imagine how easy it is for him to get a D level or even a C level robot. In the imagination of normal people, even if Shenyi can upgrade the robot, he will definitely pay a big price. At this time, Li Luoxi also initiated a transaction request and sent the primary artificial intelligence blueprint directly. Just need Shenyi to click to confirm, you can directly get it in the bag. Obviously, the other party did this either because he wanted to gamble, or he really wanted to give it to him. Shenyi thought it was the latter possibility. Of course, even if the opponent is the former. But if the other party can really keep pretending, it is no different from the latter. But at least she made Shenyi very satisfied now. Since it is such a good leak, it naturally cannot chill the hearts of others, even if it is not likely. Shenyi sent a Type 1 combat robot, a multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle, and a Type 1 operation robot, and then clicked the agreement. The two parties directly completed the transaction, and the D-level primary artificial intelligence blueprint appeared in his hand. On the opposite side, Li Luoxi apparently also received the 3 robots. Li Luoxi, boss, you made a mistake. Li Luoxi, I'll send it back to you. The appearance of the 3 robots obviously surprised Li Luoxi. However, Shenyi had no plans to take back what was given. Instead, he looked at the blueprint in his hand with satisfaction, and typed back, "Take it with confidence, this blueprint is very useful to me, and the price of C-level robots will still be the same as before, and the price of D-level robots will be lower, as long as 1%, if you can get it all together, I'll do it directly." Shenyi's attitude towards a high-quality leak who voluntarily gifted treasures is naturally different. He also didn't think of the artificial intelligence blueprint he was thinking of. I actually received it from Li Luoxi. Moreover, there is a high probability that the opponent will use the C-level Type 1 combat robot he provided to explode. This taste is really amazing. After saying this, Shenyi ignored Li Luoxi and studied the blueprint of primary artificial intelligence that he just got. When the artificial intelligence is produced, he can almost be freed here. You only need to coordinate the general direction, and leave the rest to artificial intelligence. On the other side, Li Luoxi looked at Shenyi's words, a cold and pretty face full of emotion, Shenyi. For some reason, she didn't want to add the word, big guy. This kind of loving and capable boy is really attractive. Of course, the proportion of this ability may be higher. However, under the premise of ability, it is also full of love, which is really a bonus. At least, Li Luoxi really wants to get to know Shenyi now. It's a pity that now they are forced into a game of technological soaring, and basically they may not be able to meet in this life. Thinking of this, Li Luoxi couldn't help biting his lower lip subconsciously, feeling a little unwilling in his heart. 9%. Chapter 35. Eat hot pot. And Shenyi naturally didn't know the situation on Li Luoxi's side. At this moment, he is carefully looking at the blueprint of this primary artificial intelligence. Primary artificial intelligence. Grade rating. D level. Ability. The prototype of artificial intelligence, with certain thinking ability, can carry out simple communication and dialogue, and help you deal with some simple affairs. Consumption. 20 energy points are consumed every day. Production requirements. Iron 0 350ths, copper 0 210ths, psionic crystal 0 30ths, energy 254,175 4,000ths. To be honest, the performance of this primary AI was somewhat beyond Shenyi's expectations. This was much higher than he had imagined before. You know, even Siri does not have the ability to think, just a simple voice command function. Even the introduction on the primary artificial intelligence blueprint says that it only has a certain thinking ability. But it's still pretty amazing. The highest level of artificial intelligence on Earth, Shenyi is not yet clear. After all, he was still an ordinary person before, and the things he came into contact with were only in the civilian field. However, civilian technology does not represent the highest level of the Earth. The most technologically advanced places on Earth are always the military and research institutes. As far as the civilian field is concerned, the artificial intelligence on Earth is far from the current level. This is thinking ability. Shenyi didn't think the introduction of the blueprint was an exaggeration. At least, so far, he hasn't seen that happen. You don't need much material, let's make it. A flash of excitement flashed in Shenyi's eyes. With artificial intelligence, he can finally be liberated. Just one command and everything will be handled properly. Ding, the primary artificial intelligence manufacturing time is 15 minutes, and the remaining time is 14:59. Just 15 minutes. Shen Yi nodded slightly. This time is shorter than the automatic defense system of the Holy Shield. It's not too long. Taking advantage of the free time waiting, Shen Yi went to the Life Factory to get himself a dinner. Although because of the advanced nutrients, he is not very hungry. But he still has appetites, and now the Life Factory has been upgraded to the intermediate level. He can already make all kinds of gourmet food from energy. Because it has been upgraded before. At the moment, the middle-level living factory has also changed a lot. However, its changes are not only limited to the size of the space, but also the internal environment has also changed. No longer as before, there is only one bar. Instead, it has become a restaurant with an advanced shape, silver white as a whole, and full of futuristic atmosphere. Moreover, the original bar also disappeared and became several sets of sofas and dining tables. The most special thing is that there is a huge floor-to-ceiling window beside these dining tables. It's just that it's not rolling yellow sand outside the window, but a dense jungle. People cannot help but feel relaxed and happy. Is this a space device or what? Shen Yi's eyes lit up, but he didn't care about the other changes here. Instead, he walked quickly to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the floor-to-ceiling window. Hello, master. This is a holographic projection technology, not a real picture. You can change the picture according to your preferences. At this moment, a pleasant voice came from behind Shen Yi. Shen Yi was startled, and immediately turned his head to look behind him. I saw a humanoid robot in a suit with a towel on its arm, standing respectfully behind him. Shen Yi, did you come out from behind the counter? Shen Yi was a little surprised. He can remember when he came to live in the factory before. The robots here ignore him. However, after the upgrade once, the robots here are all humanoids. Doesn't that mean if it goes up one more level, can the robot here become a good-looking lady? Yes, master. The robot waiter bowed and looked quite polite. It's a pity that Shen Yi still sensed a bit of rigidity in his tone. This made him frown, a little disappointed. Good guy, I thought I had intelligence, but it turned out to be a simple response mechanism. But this is not bad, maybe it will be smart at another level. Now that you know that the scene on the floor-to-ceiling window is just a hologram, it's all fake. Shen Yi didn't have the idea of continuing to study, and just sat down in his seat. Is there such a thing as a menu? I remember an intermediate-level living factory that can already produce all kinds of food through energy, right? Shen Yi looked at the robot waiter and asked. Yes, you can order anything you want here, please order here. The robot waiter raised his hand slightly. A transparent light screen suddenly appeared in front of Shen Yi. Chinese food, Western food, Japanese food and other options suddenly appeared in front of him. Then it must be hot pot. Is there hot pot? Shen Yi's scalp felt numb when he saw the dense selection of options, and he decided to make a decision. Hesitant to choose hot pot, that's right. Yes, please choose the bottom of the pot and the side dishes. The robot waiter bent down and said. This makes Shen Yi feel like ordering food in a restaurant. However, eating hot pot in this futuristic restaurant is really a novel experience. Shen Yi ordered a spicy pot bottom, and then ordered some side dishes such as beef, shrimp slips, vegetables, etc., and only spent 1 energy in total. This is undoubtedly very cheap. Of course, this kind of treatment is currently only available to him. Because, current players simply don't have that much energy to upgrade living factories. The most important resource for all players in the early stage is not iron, copper or psionic crystals, but energy. Other players, even those of the European Emperor, also lack energy. Because, there are only 2 ways to obtain energy now. One is to kill monsters. The higher the level of life, the more energy it provides. The other, like Shen Yi, upgraded the survival base to level 2 and opened an energy mining equipment factory. However, just upgrading the base would cost 100,000 energy points. And this 100,000 energy is not a small amount. You must know that even if it starts like Shen Yi, there are many D-level creatures such as horned dragons directly around. The monsters with a range of 30 kilometers add up to only about 300,000 energy. However, if other players are really starting like Shen Yi, it must have been cold by now. After all, they don't have a Type 1 combat robot that has reached the C rank to help them clear the crisis. 9%. Chapter 36. B-level artificial intelligence sinks to 0. Moreover, even if other players are in better conditions, the surrounding threats are not so great. That also requires a lot of energy to make robots. Especially since they can't just make robots casually. Otherwise, it is easy to be unable to support the situation. Although ordinary Type 1 combat robots and Type 1 working robots only need to consume 3 energy and 1 energy per day, respectively. However, if the number increases, this is not a small sum. Those players can't wait to split 1 energy into 2 for use. How could it be possible to use hard-earned energy to upgrade some hedonic things? Probably for a long time to come. Shen Yi will be the only one who can eat whatever he wants. Other players can only drink the nutritional supplements that do not taste very good to maintain their lives. Thinking of this, Shen Yi's food tasted even better. After all, everyone was suffering, and he was the only one who escaped. Just over half a day had passed, and he had already begun to enjoy it. Halfway through the hot pot, the primary artificial intelligence production is completed. Because the base computer was successfully upgraded to a holographic computer. Therefore, the screen appeared directly in front of Shen Yi's eyes. It's ready, so just take it out. Shen Yi clicked the OK button. The main body of the primary artificial intelligence is not too big, only the size of a suitcase. It was placed directly in the base hall. And as Shen Yi clicked OK, the familiar voice of the system also sounded in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The primary artificial intelligence X1 you made has been increased by 100 times. The next moment, a rather magnetic male voice rang in his ear. Hello master, I'm your AI steward, please name me. Shen Yi frowned slightly. Let's change the voice of Yuji. I've been lonely for too long, and I always hear the big gentleman talking. What if I get sloppy? This is not alarmist. After being alone for a long time, even if you look at a pig, you will feel good looking. What's more, the voice of this AI butler, even from the perspective of a man, sounds very nice. Yes, master. This time, the voice that came from my ears was replaced by a slightly deserted voice of Yuji. As soon as people hear it, a cold big sister wearing an OL suit will automatically appear in their minds. It's so much more comfortable. There was a hint of satisfaction on Shen Yi's face. As expected of the enhanced AI, this level of intelligence made him very satisfied. As for the name, Shen Yi thought for a while. Just call it Zero, Shen Ling. After all, it is the first artificial intelligence under his hands. As for why he didn't meet Shen Yi, of course he had the same name as him, and it would be strange to shout. Yes, master. Shen Ling had no opinion on his new name. Since I have you now, the task of directing the robot to perform the task will be handed over to you. Can you do it? Shen Yi asked aloud. The processing speed of artificial intelligence is much stronger than him. It can coordinate the robot well, but he can't. After all, he was just an ordinary person before he was selected to participate in this game. There is no command experience at all, even playing Red Police is rushing up, relying on the advantage of the number of people to crush it. Don't worry, master. Shen Ling's voice that seemed to have a reassuring power rang out. The satisfaction in Shen Yi's eyes is even stronger, and he can paddle the water next, he just needs to do a good job of planning the general direction. At this time, Shen Ling suddenly said, Master, it has been detected that the Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicles under your command are not in the optimal distribution, and many Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicles are not working. Would you like to optimize the layout? Shen Yi's original action of sandwiching the beef suddenly stopped, and the chopsticks holding the beef stopped in the air. Is there a multifunctional energy harvester that doesn't work? Shen Yi frowned slightly. What's the reason? He hadn't discovered this at all before. After all, his focus was all on the Institute's side. The arrangement of the Type 1 multipurpose energy harvesting vehicle was just swarmed to the wild. Master, the Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle can only accommodate up to 30 vehicles within 1 kilometer. If this number is exceeded, the energy harvesting will interfere with each other, resulting in a significant drop in the efficiency of the Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle or even stop working. Quote. Shen Ling explained. Is that so? Fortunately, it was discovered in time. Otherwise, it will be a big loss. Shen Yi couldn't help feeling a little fortunate. Wait until he finds out that something is not right. That's at least until he finds out that the amount of energy is wrong. But now there are nearly 10,000 robots out hunting. His energy was rising like crazy every second. God knows when he'll find out. Moreover, even if it is discovered, it will take a while to solve it by trying to solve it by yourself. This wave of Shenling at least helped him make up for the loss of hundreds of thousands, or even millions of energy. Then do as you say, Shen Yi said, and then he sighed jokingly. My dear, if you don't have a physical body, I have to give you a chicken leg. As a result, he didn't expect Shen Ling to take over. Master, you can create a body for me after you have enough technology, so that you can add a chicken leg to me. Shen Yi, good guy, he straight up good guy. The level of intelligence of this artificial intelligence is too high. You can joke with him. However, thinking that this is an artificial intelligence that has reached B level after strengthening, he can understand again. Primary artificial intelligence. Grade rating. Grade B. Ability. With a very high level of intelligence, in addition to a slightly weaker learning ability, it is your best helper in handling affairs. Consumption. 200 energy points are consumed every day. Class B is not low anymore. After all, the most peak technology on Earth, it is estimated that it can only barely reach A level. This is almost the pinnacle of what Earth technology can achieve. It is also the only B-level technology product under his hands. However, if a type of multi-purpose energy harvesting vehicle has limitations, then his fantasies of creating unlimited energy collection will be shattered. 1 kilometer can only accommodate 30 units, even if he takes all the 300 kilometers. But only 9,000 units can be arranged. Of course, even if there are only 9,000 units, his daily output value will reach 2.7 million energy. However, these have to be slowly figured out. Take your time. After all, it is impossible for him to put so much energy into a multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle. Moreover, it will take a certain amount of time to take down the 300-kilometer site. 9%. Chapter 37. Shenling's terrorist efficiency. By the way, you can help me stare at the trading house and private chat to see if there are some special D-level blueprints, and remind me if there is. Or if it's not expensive, just buy it. Shen Yi said and put the beef on the chopsticks into his mouth. The fresh and tender beef slices with a hint of spicy and delicious flavor suddenly exploded in his mouth. This living factory uses energy to make beef. Definitely the best beef he has ever eaten in his life, bar none. Both the taste and strength are superb. Yes, master. Shen Ling had no intention of resisting and took over this tedious task. This task is actually necessary. In fact, many players spend a lot of time, in their spare time, staring at the good things that may appear in the chat bar and trading line. Because a good robot can help them a lot. They are not Shen Yi, and they have no shortage of energy at all. Other players can't wait to split one energy source into two for use. They don't even dare to produce too many robots. Because they can't afford it at all. Robots have consumption, even if 1 or 2 are not too big. However, 10 units, 100 units and 1,000 units, then the consumption is terrifying. Unless there are a lot of monsters around their base or their family's base. Otherwise, who can guarantee the expenses of these robots? Therefore, they must consider the optimization of arms. Unlike Shen Yi, no matter what kind of arms you optimize, just rely on the number of them. Of course, Shen Yi is still in the minority after all. Even if they did, they certainly couldn't make it through. After all, not everyone can start with a C-level Type 1 battle robot that can be used. After explaining this matter, Shen Yi felt relieved. Began to eat hot pot happily. This feeling of sudden relaxation is simply not too cool. For the next period of time, there was basically nothing Shen Yi needed to worry about. After eating the hot pot, he started exercising to adapt to his current physique. Then, after a while, he fell asleep comfortably on the chair. Although with his current physique, even if he doesn't sleep for 10 days and a half months, nothing will happen. But after all, nothing happened to him. It is better not to develop the habit of not sleeping. While Shen Yi fell into a deep sleep, other players did not have such a good mentality. They are either staring at the trading line or the chat column, for fear that they will miss the slightest bit of news. Or it is the development plan after the intensive arrangement. In short, except for Shen Yi, no one could sleep soundly that night. Silent all night, Shen Yi spent the first day comfortably in this chaotic world. When he woke up, Shen Yi, who was refreshed, stretched and straightened his chair. Shen Ling, what time is it? Shen Yi yawned and asked. Good morning, master. It's 9 o'clock in the morning in Earth time, and you've slept 9 hours. Shen Ling's Yuji's voice rang in Shen Yi's ears, making him feel relaxed. I actually slept for so long. Shen Yi was a little surprised. He didn't expect his adaptability to be so strong. He thought he was going to sleep soundly. After all, this world is also quite dangerous, and he is in danger of being destroyed at any time. Forget it, report what happened yesterday. Shen Yi patted his face to wake himself up a bit. Then, walked towards the living factory. Although the survival base is not luxurious enough to have his separate room for the time being. However, there are still simple washing facilities and toilets in the living factory. I just don't know how to wait until the survival base is upgraded to level 3. Will there be something like his personal room? However, with the current condition, Shen Yi also satisfies it. After all, he wasn't here for a vacation, but because of the 100-fold enhancement system, his situation was much better than other players. Yes, Master. Yesterday, 874,127 energy points were harvested. The monsters within 70 kilometers of the base have been completely emptied. The research room has been completely dismantled, and obtained 1,374,172 units of iron, 895,174 units of copper, 321,574 units of super alloys, and 321,574 units of super alloys. Man alloy 52,175 units, psionic crystal 74,327 units. There was a hint of surprise in Shen Yi's eyes, so efficient. Including the time to eat hot pot, it is only 10 hours in total. In terms of energy, 150,000 yuan contributed by a type of multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle is excluded. Shen Ling controlled the Type 1 combat robot to clean up the monsters and gained more than 700,000 energy. Even if it is because there are nearly 10,000 combat robots today. But this still can't erase Shen Ling's amazing command ability. At least, let him do it. If you want to clear such a large area, it is absolutely impossible to do it in a day or two. After all, he doesn't command either. It will simply set a goal and let a combat robot act on its own. According to such efficiency, it won't take long to clear these 300 kilometers. Shen Yi's eyes were full of satisfaction. Shen Ling, you did a great job. Although Shen Ling is only artificial intelligence. But Shen Yi is still not stingy with his praise. Thank you for the compliment, Master. Shen Ling's flat voice sounded, as if there was no joy or sorrow. Although she already has a certain thinking ability. But if you want to be like a real person, Shen Ling obviously can't do it now. But at this level, Shen Yi is already very satisfied. It's not too late to do things like improving intelligence. After washing up, Shen Yi sat down at the dining table and got himself a preserved egg porridge and a few fried dough sticks. Then he asked, what is this superalloy and semen alloy? Is there any record in the database? Yes, Master. Shen Ling replied. According to the information obtained from the information integration rod before, on this planet, the materials are divided into 5 grades S, D, among which basic materials such as iron and copper are judged to be grade D, psychic energy. Crystal, a special ore with energy, and superalloy, a material equivalent to steel, are judged to be grade C, and heman alloy is a grade B material. Its strength is about 5 times that of steel, and it can withstand grade B at most the attack of the beasts of war. Can you resist the attacks of B-rank war beasts? Shen Yi's eyelids jumped. Even today's bases can't do this. I didn't expect the hardness of this heman alloy to be so high. It's no wonder that this research institute is so badly ruined by the Black Eclipse Dragon. It seems that all aspects of technology on this planet are beyond my imagination. Shen Yi couldn't help sighing. Grade B alloys are just as strong. What kind of metamorphosis will the higher A-level and even S-level materials be? 10%. Chapter 38. Upgrade again. The base has changed a lot. Fortunately, this civilization has played itself out. Otherwise, Shen Yi wouldn't have the confidence to go to war with such a monster-level civilization. Of course, his current situation is also not much better. It is very likely that there are monsters beyond the S-class on this planet. God knows how terrifying the destructive power of those monsters. However, according to the information gathering stick, this kind of monster has a high probability of breaking the limit of the weapon of planetary civilization, and has a terrifying combat power that surpasses S-class weapons. As for how strong it is, Shen Yi has no idea. Shen Yi only knows now that he can't even defeat monsters with a life level of S rank. No, even in the face of A-level creatures. These robots under his hands are only C level, and they are completely incapable of doing it. There is only the Holy Shield automatic defense system. It can make him a little more confident when facing A-level monsters. Not strong enough. Shen Yi sighed and suddenly felt that the porridge in his mouth was not so fragrant. On this planet now, there are too many things that can threaten him. Still haven't revealed the blueprint yet? Shen Yi asked aloud. Sorry, Master, I didn't find any blueprints, and I didn't find any valuable blueprints in the trading line or chat. Shen Ling's slightly deserted voice sounded again. Sure enough. The burst rate of blueprints is too low. Shen Yi whispered in his heart. I don't know what the explosion rate of this blueprint is. Apart from the previous Divine Shield automatic defense system, he never saw the second blueprint again. This low explosion rate is ridiculous. Wait, it's not just because of his dark face, is it? Thinking of this possibility, Shen Yi's face turned ashen. It seems so possible. If it weren't for the fact that his face was not dark, he would not have been sent to such a desperate planet. If the system is not activated, he may not even be able to pass the level of the horned dragon. Impossible. How could I be black? It's just that the explosion rate is too low. Shen Yi hurriedly pushed the thoughts out of his mind. If this is really his face is black, is it still good? I'm afraid it's not those monsters that are S rank or even beyond S rank. You can go to him when you go shopping. Upgrade first. Shen Ling, upgrade all the upgradable bases to 1 level. Shen Yi said. Yes, Master. With Shen Ling's voice falling. A large amount of resources were immediately deducted, and the prompts flashed on the screen in front of Shen Yi's eyes. You have deducted 20,000 iron, 15,000 copper, 3,000 psionic crystals, and 300,000 energy. The second level survival base has been upgraded. It took 1 hour, and now it takes 59. You have deducted 3,000 iron, 2,000 copper, 300 psionic crystals, and 30,000 energy, and the intermediate radar has been upgraded. It took 45 minutes, and now it takes 44. You have deducted 5,000 iron and 3,000 copper. You have, quote. For a time, the survival base, radar, machinery factory, living factory and energy mining equipment factory entered the upgrade process at the same time. This wave of required resources is definitely an astronomical sum for ordinary players. If it is just ordinary iron, copper ores, it may be better. After all, some of the European emperors start with the ore veins. As long as there is family help, a sufficient number of Type 1 work robots can be manufactured. It's actually not that difficult to cobble together these resources. However, for other players, the hardest part is the energy. Energy is so important. It can be said that any development of the base requires energy. Producing robots, upgrading bases, and keeping bases running, which of these things don't require a lot of energy? Before the survival base was upgraded to the second level and the primary energy mining equipment factory appeared. Killing monsters around the base is the only way for players to get energy. However, the amount of energy given by killing monsters is also provided according to the level of the monster's life. So, if the monsters around the player's base are not at high health levels, then they must have difficulties if they want to develop. Of course, if the life level of the monsters around the base is too high, they may not be able to beat them. Even if it is forced to fight, it is very likely that huge battle losses will occur. After all, they are not Shen Yi. They have a hundredfold enhancement system, and they directly swept the quartet with a C-level Type 1 combat robot. Therefore, many players in this environment are equivalent to being directly sentenced to death. Even their families are heartbroken. They can only give up helplessly, or just give the minimum energy to continue their lives. Of course, the status of these players changed after Shen Yi started to gradually increase the number of C-class Type 1 battle robots. After all, whenever you buy a C-class Type 1 combat robot, these players will be like gold mines with huge potential. And this group of people are also the ones who support Shen Yi the most. Whenever someone said something bad about Shen Yi, they would immediately jump out and spray that person into the blood. After all, Shen Yi was equivalent to giving them a second life. After Shen Yi finished his breakfast, the countdown to the comprehensive upgrade of the base also ended. As soon as Shen Yi gave an order, the entire base would begin to undergo earth-shaking changes. Shen Yi sat on a chair in the hall and fixed himself. Then he said to Shen Ling, "Let's start upgrading." "Yes, Master," Shen Ling replied. The next moment, the entire base trembled violently. This time the shock was even bigger than the last time. Everywhere in the entire base, like transformers, quickly began to churn. The metal pieces seemed to come alive and deformed rapidly. The space within the entire base is also undergoing tremendous changes. However, what surprised Shen Yi was that instead of continuing to expand, the space in the hall continued to shrink. And it seems to keep rising. Eventually, when all changes stop, the command hall has become a room only less than 50 square meters. There is only an exit door behind it. It is no longer connected to places such as machinery factories and living factories as before. That's right, the command hall at the moment seems to have been isolated and become a separate room. And the blue light ball transformed by the original holographic computer is still suspended in the center of the command hall. However, what caught Shen Yi's attention the most was the surroundings of the command hall at this moment. At this moment, the walls around the command hall have been replaced by white walls that are the same as the projection walls of the living factory. If nothing else, this thing should also have the projection function. 10%. Chapter 39. Mechanical R&D Laboratory. Opportunity for the second type of robot to be born. Shen Ling, open the current base panel. Shen Yi suppressed the speculation in his heart and said, "Yes, master." The next moment, a transparent virtual frame appeared in front of Shen Yi's eyes. Above is the current data panel of the base. Survival base. Current level. Level 3. Current facilities. Advanced radar, advanced machinery factory, advanced living factory, intermediate energy harvesting equipment factory, primary machinery technology research laboratory, lounge, recreation room. Base defense coefficient. Grade C. Current energy. 495,172 points. Current consumption. 300 points per day. Upgrade requirements. Iron 1.34 million, 1 million, copper 850,000 800 thousandths, psionic crystal 60,000 80 thousandths, NEC grade metal material 320,000 100 thousandths, NEB grade metal material 50,000 10 thousandths, energy 490,000 thirds million. Good guy. Want so much. Shen Yi couldn't help being surprised when he saw the pile of items requested in the upgrade requirements column. Although, he has met most of the upgrade conditions at present. Even the columns for NEC grade metal material and NEB grade metal material are satisfied. But you must know that he only got so many materials after dismantling a small biological research institute of a planetary peak civilization. Biological institute of this specification. Even a superpower like the Federation only has more than 100 institutions. Is this something that ordinary players can raise? Moreover, a full 3 million energy is needed in the back. Compared with the second-level survival base, the third-level survival base is 10 times more expensive. Not to mention other players, even Shen Yi can't get so much out of it for a while. Even if he swept away all the monsters in the 300 kilometers around the base, it would only be about this number. However, more resources are required. To a certain extent, it also represents the greater change in the base. After consuming such a huge amount of resources, what is the survival base to be strengthened into? Of course, even if Shen Yi wants to complete the upgrade again, it is not an easy task. After all, it is impossible for him to put such a huge amount of energy into the upgrade all at once. Otherwise, will he continue to develop? There are so many more facilities this time. At this time, Shen Yi also noticed 3 new facilities in the facility bar. It was because I was taken aback by the extremely long column of requirements for the next upgrade of the base. After calming down now, he naturally noticed the facility bar that also grew out. Unexpectedly, the lounge and entertainment room that he had been thinking about before appeared. Of course, it wasn't these 2 facilities that attracted him the most. It was the newly emerging Primary Mechanical Technology Research Laboratory. This is a research laboratory that has reappeared after the Primary Biological Genetic Research Laboratory that appeared because of the Information Integration Rod. Is this the role of a biological genetic laboratory? Shen Yi was full of expectations and opened the introduction of the Biogene Research Laboratory. Primary Mechanical Science and Technology Laboratory. You can unlock the progress of the laboratory by collecting blueprints or finished technology products. When the progress of the laboratory reaches the standard, you can upgrade the basic robots in the machinery factory, and only when the progress reaches 100% can further upgrades be made. The current progress is 67%. Good guy, it really is. There was a hint of ecstasy in Shen Yi's eyes. As long as the basic model of the robot under his command can be upgraded to D level, he can have a large number of B level robots under the power of 100 times stronger system. At that time, his fighting power was not what it is now. Class B monster. What rubbish is that? You don't need a round of fire, just send it away with joy. A-level monster. How many rounds can it survive? If it was an S-rank monster, it might still be impossible to deal with it now. But it's definitely not an unattainable existence. As long as the robot is upgraded to a new level, the S-class monster is nothing but garbage. However, this 67% progress is not due to the 2D level blueprints and the E-level blueprint, right? The blueprints he currently owns are the D-level Sacred Shield Automatic Defense System, the primary artificial intelligence blueprint, and the E-level armed drones. Other than that, there seems to be nothing else. If this is the case, then it seems that it is not difficult for him to make this 100% progress. Shen Ling, release the news that 15 E-level blueprints can be exchanged for 1 C-level Type 1 combat robot or 3 Type 1 operation robots. There is a lot of demand. By the way, only Sha Guo can buy it. With a big idea in mind, Shen Yi immediately began to act. The price of an E-level blueprint, the market price is about 300 to 400 points of energy. However, Shen Yi's side is obviously at a disadvantage when it comes to purchasing with energy. Of course he couldn't buy it with energy. Isn't it sweet to buy him with a robot? With only 25 energy points, he can directly buy things that can only be bought with a high probability of about 5,000 energy points. Moreover, the person who bought it has to be grateful to him. Of course, the bottom line is that these drawings are unlikely to be concentrated in the hands of a single person. Even if he finds them one by one, the other party obviously cannot afford them. Is it possible that he can still pay with energy? As for the direct one-to-one transaction with the robot, Shen Yi even thought about it. He has to have cerebral palsy before he can influence the market price he has set. Previously, Li Luoxi's side was just an exception, letting him use a Type 1 combat robot, a Type 1 operation robot, and a Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle for a D-level blueprint. However, that was only because the other party really loved him too much. Of course, the most important thing is that he believes that Li Luoxi will not let him suffer this loss. The current expenditure, the other party has plenty of money in the later stage, and will definitely make up for it. What is this wave called? This wave is called loan consumption. As for other players, Shen Yi doesn't think they deserve such trust. Don't let the players worry about changing the blueprints themselves. He just had to sit back and wait for the results. Yes, Master, Shen Ling responded and immediately advertised on all channels. This time, all players were shocked again. Unexpectedly, Shen Yi started helping the poor again in just one day. Damn it, Mr. Shen Yi is really a good guy. 15 E-level blueprints can be exchanged for a C-level Type 1 combat robot. It's such a bloody profit. Blueprint dealers are ecstatic. I collected blueprints before and you thought I was a fool. Now you are the fool. Ha ha. It's a loss, a loss. I used to sell the E-level blueprint for 100 energy points, damn it. Dogecoin gives me back my blueprint. I hate it. The price of this blueprint can't soar. After confirming the eyes, it's still a price I can't afford. But the big boss Shen Yi has changed his tricks to help us. However, what did Mr. Shen Yi collect so many blueprints for? Is this a new technology to develop? Sure enough, Mr. Shen Yi is actually a big tech guy, right? The tech tycoon tells you, you're thinking about shit, it's just that the big boss Shen Yi is awesome, not the tech boss. 10%. Chapter 40. The Ascension of Terror. At this moment, all players cheered for it. Even those players outside the Sha Kingdom are the same. Although they still couldn't buy a C-class Type 1 combat robot. However, they can sell the E-class blueprints they have accumulated in their hands at a good price. In fact, the number of E-class blueprints is not much now. Of course, this does not mean that the explosion rate of E-level blueprints is high, but the base of players is really too large. Billions of players participate in the game at the same time, even if 10,000 or even 100,000 people lose one. Under the terrorist base of billions, there will still be tens of thousands of people who will explode the E-level blueprint. However, for various reasons, they did not put these E-class blueprints for sale. But it's different now. You can use the E-level blueprint to exchange for 1 C-level Type 1 combat robot, or 3D level Type 1 work robots. Such a great opportunity, who wouldn't want to take it? Even if they can't exchange it, they can still sell the blueprint for a good price. For a time, the entire player market was boiling because of Shen Yi. For the first time, the player has a large-scale trade activity. Of course, no matter what, the biggest earner this time was naturally Shen Yi. On the one hand, he uses a few Type 1 combat robots and Type 1 working robots that can be made with a mere 25 or even 15 points of energy. In exchange, a large number of E-level blueprints were used to improve the progress of the primary mechanical technology research laboratory. Meet his own needs. On the other hand, the large-scale trade between these players has also allowed these players to make great progress. By the time of the next transaction, the wallets of these players will inevitably be larger and more abundant. I am afraid that even if hundreds of thousands of Type 1 combat robots are sold at one time, these players can eat it. However, this transaction process is not a short process. Shen Yi handed over all transaction affairs to Shen Ling. I began to study other functions after a comprehensive upgrade. Advanced radar. The coverage can reach 3,000 kilometers, and all energy-containing objects and metals within the range will be detected. In addition, it can penetrate into the ground for a maximum of 100 kilometers, and has a strong shielding ability. Non-S level cannot be detected. Advanced machinery factory. A maximum of 5,000 robots can be produced at the same time, and the manufacturing time of robots below sea level is reduced to half of the previous one. Advanced living factory. After taking the nutritional supplements, the effect is doubled, and the interval between taking them is shortened by half. Intermediate energy harvesting equipment factory. After production, the maximum capacity of energy harvesting vehicles within a certain range is increased by 50%, and the energy harvesting effect is increased by 30%. Hiss. The promotion is so exaggerated. Seeing the introduction today, Shen Yi couldn't help but take a deep breath. This high-level radar alone is already very against the sky. The coverage range is 3,000 kilometers, but it has become the most inconspicuous improvement effect. What impressed Shen Yi most was the ability to penetrate up to 100 kilometers underground. This means that the underground is no longer a blind spot for his vision. Unless there is something that can burrow directly into the ground more than 100 kilometers underground, go around his base and launch an attack. Of course, if the other party really has the ability to move freely 100 kilometers underground. That Shen Yi considered himself unlucky. After all, the huge pressure underground is not comparable to that on the ground. To be able to do this, the opponent must at least be an S-rank existence. In the face of an S-class existence, what else is there to say? Anyway, at his current level, it is impossible for him to be an opponent of S-class creatures or technological creations. Secondly, it is the function of advanced radar to detect metals and things containing energy. This function has two advantages. On the one hand, it can discover the technological means of the enemy. After all, the biggest feature of technological creations is that they are made of metal and contain a lot of energy. Through these 2 points, it is easy to discover those hidden technological creations. On the other hand, it can be used to detect mineral veins buried in the ground. As long as it is not more than 100 kilometers underground. None of these veins escaped radar scans. In addition to the radar, the improvement of several other factories is also very terrifying. Take the machinery factory for example. It not only expanded the production line, but also shortened the production time of robots below the sea level. C rank, that is a rank that can only be achieved after a type of battle robot is strengthened. It can already be called the conventional combat power of a top planetary civilization. After the upgrade of the machine factory this time, the time for Shen Yi to manufacture the robot army will be greatly shortened. Let him get out of the current dangerous situation as soon as possible. After all, the environment he is in now is not safe. At any time, it may face the attack of S-rank or even beyond S-rank monsters. He must seize all the time and develop as soon as possible. Otherwise, if one day there is an S-rank or more S-rank monster on a whim, it will come to him. He was afraid that he would have to go back to before liberation in a wave, and it was all taken by the other party. The improvement of living factories is smaller than that of other facilities. But it still helped him a lot. The double increase in the effect of nutrients may be the same for ordinary players. But for him who has a hundredfold amplification system, the increase effect is directly increased to 100 times. And the shortening of the taking interval will also allow him to have this hundredfold increase faster. At that time, let alone tear up Gundam by hand. Even if the starship is torn by hand, I am afraid it is not difficult. Of course, the improvement of energy mining equipment factories has also helped Shen Yi a lot. Because, if according to the statement on the introduction, Within 1 kilometer, the maximum number of Type 1 multipurpose energy harvesting vehicles that can be placed will reach 45. At the same time, the daily energy conversion of each Type 1 multifunctional energy harvesting vehicle will also reach the level of close to 400 points. This means that the scope of the site remains unchanged. If the 300-kilometer range is fully covered with Type 1 multipurpose energy harvesting vehicles, he will be able to lay 13,500 vehicles. Moreover, the highest energy he can obtain every day will reach 0.4 million. And if all 3,000 kilometers are covered, that's 54 million. Looking at it this way, the monsters beyond the S rank don't seem to be that scary. Shen Yi couldn't help but sigh. Although this wave of upgrades consumed a lot of his resources. However, the improvement to him is incomparably huge. Just give him enough time to digest the current improvement. What counts as a monster that surpasses S rank? If he continues to develop, he is afraid that he will be able to press the opponent to the ground and blast the hammer by himself without relying on the robot. Hammer by himself without relying on the robot. Hammer by himself.